Hello and welcome back to a brand new episode of the Pick a Side podcast. My name is Joel Moran and I'm here with John Tortorelli, Andrew Velez, and Mr. Joel Dells. And we are here after the Knicks made their first Eastern Conference Finals in 25 years. We have a jam-packed episode, not only talking about that amazing historic moment. I mean, we got to talk about the future of the Celtics. I mean, Dells, what are they going to do? The Knicks not only ended their season, next season's over as well. And my goodness, our future is looking. I never thought we'd be in this position. And then we got a Game 7 coming up Sunday. Tomorrow, Mr. John, your Nuggets take on OKC Thunder. One of the biggest games of the NBA season is happening on Sunday. OKC versus the Denver Nuggets. Game 7. OKC's at home. And Prize Picks has everybody covered because they have a Nikola Jokic free square. He just needs 1 point and you win. You could add it to your picks. You can add it to your lineup. It's a free square. Why not take advantage of that?
Come on, he's not pulling a Tyrese. This is easy money, cash money.
He's the best player in the NBA. He's going up against a team that took care of him for a couple of games, really limited him. But I think in a Game 7 elimination game with the chance to go to the conference finals,
he gets that 1 point.
He gets that 1 point in the first minute.
And you know, I think Jokic is going to have a career-defining moment. He's going to play so well in Game 7. This is going to be one of the best moments of his career. He's going to propel Denver to the conference finals. And you can get to the NBA finals potentially because Prize Picks right now, they have a Takes Two tickets promo. You could win a VIP trip to the ship. You create a $5 3-pick flex NBA lineup for the playoffs. Every lineup is one entry to win a VIP trip to sit courtside at the NBA championship.
It's tough.
You can get a max up to 5 entries per day. So go to Prize Picks, take advantage of that Nikola Jokic free square. Use code PAS. You play $5, you get $50. If you want to help support the podcast in another way that's not liking, commenting, or watching the video, you can go to Prize Picks and use code PAS. Fellas, how are we doing?
Doing okay, man. It's been a long time since I've been in this chair doing some pick a side work. You guys have been on a different level grind, and I really respect the work you guys have been putting in. John, I'll be honest with you, man. Didn't expect your Nuggets to be this competitive in this good of a series against OKC. And secondly, Mr. Dells, I'm sorry, brother. Not a great time to be Joel Dells.
Nope. Thank God the Mets won today. It gives me not much back, but something.
Like like a...
If we would have got swept, I need...
quick dopamine hit type, you know?
I needed one.
Yeah, you needed a W.
I needed one back.
You needed a win because it was a lot of L's coming your way.
Especially at home. You know, the Celtics got one win at home in the series. Yeah. Not ideal. Not the position you want to be in, obviously.
Definitely not.
You got your moment in the sun last year, Dells.
Absolutely.
But you heard what they said about the last 6 teams that won the NBA championship?
Haven't made it to conference finals.
Yep. They haven't. They haven't made it past the second round. The Celtics are no exception. It is unfortunate that Tatum got hurt because if he didn't get hurt and he won this series and there was literally no asterisks, even though Celtics fans would have found a way, Jaylen Brown injury, Porzingis, they would find a way to discredit the Knicks. It would have been that much sweeter, Dells. I feel like I can't rub it in your face this much, but after Game 1, I told you, something special's happening, Dells. Mm-hmm. And I think we're going to win this series, and I think we're winning the NBA championship. I feel like this is the year, 25 years in the making. And the best things in life are the most unexpected things in life.
Okay.
Because I did not expect us to be here. I thought that we might have flamed out. I was expecting that this offseason was going to be an offseason filled with question marks. But as a good friend of mine sent me through voice message, I was talking to Pierre as we won the second round. He told me, we're playing with house money now. Anything we do from this point forward, this is a successful season. Nonetheless, I have faith that we can go all the way because when you're one of 4 teams left standing, I know the other 28 teams in the league don't know how that feels right now. But when you're one of 4 teams left standing, you have a chance to win it all. And I have to tell you guys, I've been jealous of you guys. Dells, last year, your Celtics won. John, 2023 it was. Your Nuggets won. 2022,
Riv.
the Rivs, the Warriors won. in 2020, Drew's Lakers
Thank
won.
God. Needed
And, you know,
that.
he's also a part of the Jalen Brunson hive and the Knicks fan
My
base
dog.
hive.
I really
so
appreciate that.
He can rep the Knicks as
You're
much
my
as
goat.
he wants.
My goat right there.
And the
Oof.
NFL, the Rams won. You guys were part of the Ramley.
That was
my
electric.
moment in the sun. You could argue it's the Chiefs. You could
Definitely.
argue it's Mahomes.
Definitely.
But nothing feels as good as this right now because there have been 2 times in my life where I thought the Knicks had a chance. When they had Carmelo Anthony and we lost to the Pacers, ironically enough, in the second round, and they outplayed us thoroughly. And then I thought last year we had a chance, but we got hurt at the wrong time. It
was devastating.
And if we had Julius Randle, I mean, look how he's performing right now in the playoffs. Imagine we got that last year. I mean, we might not see a Celtics championship last year, if we're being honest. If we had Randle and Mitch and OG and Hartenstein, the toughness that we played with, that's all I'm saying, John. Julius Randle, he said he's primed for big-time performances.
It's just a who
He's
knows.
been doing it. He's
fair.
been doing it. But my
Keep
goodness, from the time that I've been a Knicks fan, not having no success at all, fans will try to discredit this and laugh at it as much as they want, but they don't understand how much this fan base has been starving for some relevancy. I think that started when we drafted RJ Barrett, and that's why RJ Barrett, although I didn't think towards like year 2, year 3 he'd pan out for us, he was the beginning of what I thought was finally a functional organization. Drafting him and Mitch before and IQ after and Grimes and signing Hartenstein and signing Brunson, who he has made his impact, and now he's going to go down as one of the best Knicks,
If not.
in the history, exactly, if not the greatest Knick in the history of their franchise. The 2020s era is the most successful era of Knicks basketball in the last 20 years. And fans finally feel like we're trending in the right direction, and we have accomplished something that we have not seen in a long time. You got to understand, it's been 25 years in the making. I'm 25 right now. I'm going to turn 26 next month in June. You're talking about if I lived another life, I wouldn't have witnessed this until I'm 50. That's how people that are 50 feel. The last time I saw this, I just graduated college. I just opened up into the job market. I mean, we have not seen this. This is why this moment is so special. So if you don't understand that, I don't know why you can't, because it's so easy to understand. And like I began this with, the best things happen unexpectedly. And I've been caught off guard. I did not think this team was going to make it this far. I did not think that Cat was going to play with as much heart as he's played with. And I think Cat has really showed out. There are some things that tick me off about him, like the defensive stuff, but you live with that. But in game 6, for him to come out as aggressive as he came out, I don't care that he was taking half-court threes. That's what I want him to do. I want him to be aggressive. If we get all of our players playing like this, I just don't see how we can't realistically win a championship. If we're playing our best brand of basketball, I'm talking about in rhythm basketball, everybody touching a rock, defensive intensity. We have the best wing duo left in the playoffs. The best wing defensive duo left in the playoffs. The Knicks got that. You know, we can match up with anybody defensively. And we got Mitchell Robinson on the back. Yeah, and that's going to be tough. And I told you my finals is the Timberwolves and the Knicks. I'm sorry, Randall. I'm sorry, Anthony Edwards. You know, sometimes it's just a city's time. And right now it's the Knicks' time.
I will say, of all the things you said, I got to be real with you. I loved 99% of it. The 1% I didn't like is house money. With respect, the goal was to beat Boston because everybody thought you beat Boston. Realistically, who can't you beat? You can win the whole thing, and that's how Knicks fans are feeling right now. This isn't house money. You beat the Celtics, job's not done. And I say this respectfully. You lose in the ECF, that's disappointing. You go to the finals and you lose, yeah, it's something that Knicks fans haven't experienced in a long time. Some Knicks fans haven't experienced it at all. But beating Boston, now the expectation is we need to win the whole thing. That is where my mind's at. I get it. Listen, as a fan, it's amazing. You haven't experienced to reaching the mountaintop or even making the Eastern Conference Finals in a long, long time. But the goal was we're going to make this insane trade for Mikal Bridges. We're going to trade Julius Randle and Dante DiVincenzo for Karl Anthony Towns for one reason and one reason only, to get us over the hump and win a championship. Not just beat Boston, but to win a championship. Step 1 done. Albeit, whether people want to say, oh, Jason Tatum got hurt, who knows what could have happened. You went down 3-1. The game was over before Jason Tatum got injured. Who knows what could have happened? That's not a scenario I want to live in. Hopefully Jason Tatum's all right, obviously, but the Knicks are going to the ECF. They already have silenced 95% of critics because nobody anticipated. All of us here anticipated the Celtics were going to win. It's nothing but praise for the New York Knicks. And as much as I want them to win the championship 100%, job is not done. And I'm not going to give them the A for effort kind of mentality just because they're here. Knicks fans know what they want. Realistically, that's what New York fans are. It's championship or bust with them every single season. They can delude themselves even when they don't have the teams to compete that, hey, we still should be out there and we should be competitive. But now you actually have a championship caliber team. You actually got over one hurdle. It's time to finish the job. New York's here. They're here. And Dell's obviously, like I started, it sucks for you, obviously. I pray that Jason Tatum comes back whenever he does come back and he's 100% the same player that he was. Because I thought in that game five, that was the Jason Tatum that we all were thinking he could ascend to. Yeah. Game four, excuse me. You're right, because game 5 was the one that JB backpacked and Derek White. Game 4 was the version of Tatum that I thought was perfect.
He was awesome.
What we had envisioned, what he could be if he was a consistent scorer, that's what he was in game 4. The jump shot was falling. He was aggressive getting to the basket. The defense was amazing. The playmaking was amazing. He was perfect. For him to go down was devastating, giving goosebumps talking about it. But it's New York's time. And we need to acknowledge what they're doing is great, but it's not finished.
Absolutely. I feel like they flipped the switch in the Celtics series where, as you highlighted, no one took this Knicks team to win. And it was because you had to see it in order to believe it. And this series, we saw not only that three of Jalen Brunson, OJ Anunoby, and Karl-Anthony Towns, who all had amazing years, continue to play well, but adding Mitchell Robinson back off injury completely took their season back onto a level where this is what we kind of hoped for coming the season. And then when you look at the play of Deuce McBride off the bench, I think he's been a massive unsung hero for this team. And lastly, everyone, including Knicks fans, kind of hated the Mikal Bridges trade just a month ago when you looked at what he was giving in the regular season. And in that Celtics series, you saw him turn up his defensive play onto a different level to what it was back in those Phoenix years when he was a Defensive Player of the Year candidate in some pretty big series and some pretty big moments. So I feel like, much like Drew said, you're halfway to a championship. It's the first time in 25 years the Knicks have been in the conference finals. I haven't seen this in my lifetime. My lifetime is filled with Isaiah Thomas and Phil Jackson making woeful decision after woeful decision, turning the Knicks from a well-run franchise since Pat Riley into a laughingstock. In the last 5 years, what Leon Rose has done is nothing short of exceptional. Okay, he's made one controversial trade after another. Each and every single one have been met with backlash, and the majority of them have worked out almost perfectly.
It's kind of like Minnesota.
Kind of like Minnesota, he deserves a lot of praise to turn this into a good franchise. And for that reason, the Knicks side shouldn't just be set on the conference finals. Like, that's what you have to go through right now. It's where you're at. But I think the Knicks season right now is a chance to win a championship for the first time since 1973.
Insane. And
I think that is where your site should really be on because you guys have a chance to win it this year.
Yeah, there's really no team that I'm looking at that's still alive, right? We'll see what happens between Thunder and Denver, but all of these teams, there's no Goliath left, I don't think. The Thunder, maybe because of how great regular season they had, but so far in these playoffs, maybe it's just the matchup with Denver.
Not the playoffs, and Brunson's better than SGA.
I know you've been
especially in the playoffs. In the playoffs, who's better?
Saying that.
Is it close?
He's been saying that.
Is it close in the playoffs?
Yes, it's close.
SGA has had some high highs, some low lows.
That Dallas series was special. He was special in that Dallas series.
Oh, for sure. But Brunson was special last year.
And that was the best defense in the Western Conference
I'm talking
last
about
year.
in these playoffs.
In these playoffs, the best player has been Jalen Brunson. It's been Jalen Brunson.
So we're heading into that series with the best player in that series.
Potentially. I think, but even before you get there,
I love it.
This Pacers team, I think it's gonna be a great series. But I kind of feel what Drew's saying. Like, you made it to the ECF now. You took down Boston, that was so heavily favored that I feel like although it is house money, it's also like this is a golden opportunity
100%.
because as great as this Knicks team is. You said it. You haven't been here in 25 years, right? And you just can't take for granted, like, oh, we did it this year. Now all of a sudden we're gonna do it for the next 5 years. We've just seen in the NBA that's not how it's gonna happen. Mm-hmm. So the fact that you've gotten here, and you took down Boston, in the first round, you took down Detroit. You have shown to be an incredibly clutch team. Jalen Brunson, like we're talking about, is looking like one of the best players in the world right now, especially in the clutch, the best player in the world. I feel like you should, have your eyes on the championship, because if you're able to get past Indiana, who's a hell of a team in their own right, like why can't you get past Minnesota or Thunder or a Denver Nuggets team? But all the credit goes to the Knicks. Like, obviously they beat the Celtics, and that's what I'm rooting for. So I'm not going to be up here being like, man, you know, the Knicks, I just love them with all my heart. But taking that kind of, you know, to the side, being a Jets fan who hasn't seen shit in 15 years, I hope one day they can do this and you could win multiple playoff games. I'll be up here looking like a jackass because I haven't seen the Jets be good in forever. So even though the Knicks have obviously had more success than the Jets, and then that's kind of
pretty similar
my
comparison.
perspective. Yeah, it's like I can't be mad. I'm not. First of all, I'm not making any excuse for Boston. Like, sure, JT got hurt. Sure, Jaylen Brown was injured. Sure, KP. Like, all that's true. But you got beat. You know what I mean? Like, it's really hard in a 7-game series for the other team to get lucky, you know, barring like 2 guys going down in like game 1 or something. But, you know, you could make the excuse for Boston. But I feel like if you're doing that, it's just a little lame. It takes away from what the Knicks did in this series. And that's 2 20-point comebacks going bar for bar with the defending champions in the clutch. Jalen Brunson looked like the best player. And even still, like, they took some punches after game 2. Boston comes out, smokes them in game 3. How do you respond? Boom, you get the win in game 4. You survive a Jason Tatum 40 ball. And then, you know, game 5, what happens? You have the JB masterclass. Oh shit, it's 3-2. Boston's going to come back. In game 6, you shut the door in the second quarter. So even when Boston had these moments where it looked like the champs are here, you know, Tatum's back, JB's back, whatever the case might be, New York was always ready every step of the way. And I think that game 6 was definitely important, because they left nothing to question.
100%.
This was not just like some close-ass game again. You know what I mean? This was not something that came down to the wire on a weird call. This game was over halfway through the second quarter. So you have that game and game 4 for if anyone tries to take away the first 2. But in reality, how do you take it away? Like, you got beat. You know what I mean? Regardless of if you think Boston outplayed him, you got beat. So credit to the Knicks. The story's dope. I think for a team, a fan base that's been craving this, to have this be your path, you know what I mean? Like, everyone said, like you guys said, like, Boston's going to smoke them. It's not going to be close. And you go out there, you get the job done. And this is a Pacers team that you're favored in right now. And I think New York has a real chance against them.
Dells, I'm not going to lie. You saying that you needed game 6 and that kind of put all the questions to bed, that moved me.
That's a fact.
That was real of you. Gave me goosebumps. I'm not going to lie. Because that's realistically what happened. Because after game 5, JB and Derek White go nuts. Every Celtics fans definitely are feeling this stuff, which, hey, I'm not expecting fans to act any other way. If you're a fan, you do that.
Luke Cornett has the best game of his life.
Exactly. You had to do that. Was I expecting a 40-point ass beating? Not a chance in hell. I was expecting the Knicks to win game 6, no doubt. But never like this. This was a defining moment for Knicks in this series to show, hey, those 2 20-point comebacks, that was not a fluke. That game 4 10-point comeback, that was not a fluke. We're here. We're actually a great team. And I said it when we were live. I'll say it again. This also speaks about the Pistons for me too. That Pistons series I thought was way closer than I thought it should have been for the Knicks. But it speaks volumes to how good that Pistons team was. Defensively, they really were strong. For the Knicks to come out into this series versus the Celtics and perform the way that they did, I'm excited for what the Pistons have in store next season.
You might be right, you know, because before the playoffs started, we saw the Pistons thoroughly beat the Celtics in the regular season when they were healthy. You know, the Pistons looked far better.
That was second night of a back-to-back.
And then, okay, you know.
I remember that game vividly. We looked like shit.
Yeah, Malik Beasley outplayed Pritchard. Cade was amazing. Asar,
second night of a back-to-back.
Locked up. You know, so you might be right. You know, I think the Jets comparison you made was valid, really, because I think the Jets are still a bad organization. We'll see what this new regime does.
I know you have no
The
faith,
Knicks have changed over the last 5-6 years or so.
And they're here.
And before yesterday, the last conference championship that I've seen between the Jets and the Knicks was the Jets in 2010.
Yeah.
So that's how long it's been for the Knicks. I have not seen them go this far, and it's either ended in a first-round exit or it's ended in a second-round loss in very disappointing fashion. Last year, we get blown out in Game 7 with Melo and the Pacers. We were outplayed by them. But all of the years with Melo was first-round exit after first-round exit, losing to the Celtics, I believe, in his first year. Then I think we lost to the Heat. So, I mean, it was just, we just kept losing. So, just feel like with how far they've came, there's some players that I used to root for with the Knicks that they're not even playing minutes in the league right now. I used to think Kevin Knox was going to be a great player. He looked amazing in Summer League and had some flashes as a rookie. I really admired what Kristaps Porzingis said about us, though, and how he's happy for us, because he was our first franchise player once in that Melo era when we drafted Porzingis. It got a lot of backlash. But I like Porzingis at the time. I actually showed my cousin, like, yo, this guy's 7'3", he can shoot. What's not to like, you know? I'm on board. I was like, maybe Phil Jackson has something. That was the only draft pick he made that was worthwhile.
The only good one.
Porzingis gave us a lot of hope as a franchise player, and the season he was having was special before he tore his ACL, and it kind of ruined all momentum. And then things soured between him and the organization. He ended up getting traded, and we got Dennis Smith Jr. and DeAndre Jordan and Wesley Matthews and picks back for him. I mean, we didn't really get enough for, at that time, who was like a franchise star for us. And then we draft RJ. He was the highest draft pick since Patrick Ewing, and I believed in RJ. I thought he was going to lead us to a championship when he got drafted. In his interviews, when Spike Lee asked him if you're going to lead the Knicks to the promised land, and he said, I am. I bought into that. You know, all of that stuff. And to see where they've come from that point to now, it's been unexpected, because I think nobody realized that Jalen Brunson was going to be this good. I mean, what he's turned into has been a top 10 player in the league. I thought Jalen Brunson was going to be good. I thought he was going to be an all-star level player. When we're talking about like the nearing top 10 bracket of things, but he turned out and he became arguably the best point guard in the league. I mean, we are talking about him in those conversations, the best by far fourth quarter player in the league, not only in the regular season, but in the playoffs as well, who's averaged over 30 points per game in the playoffs in the last 3 years, who had his 25th straight game of 15 plus points and 5 plus assists in the playoffs. That's number 2 to only Magic Johnson. What Jalen Brunson has done, the run that he's been on has been incredible. And this entire Knicks run has been spearheaded by a lot of things that people did not expect. I mean, we're talking about the draft picks we hit on, the players we hit on, the trades we're hitting on. And sometimes you got to risk it to get the biscuit. We're near the biscuit right now. We're close.
And again, I've never been so happy to be wrong about Mikal Bridges. Mikal Bridges this series showed his worth and his value, and why, if you're a Knicks fan, it's going to be the same sentiment until the season's over.
Even $60 million.
Fuck them picks. Who cares? Because if you win a championship this season, that trade's already justified. It's 100% justified. It is really, really a special time for the Knicks. And last thing I'll say, and then I'll kick it over to you guys. We can talk about the Pacers, because you guys say there's no juggernaut left in the playoffs. I don't disagree too much, but this series is going to be tough. It's really going to be an amazing series. Jalen Brunson went from role player to 6-man to lead guard to all-star to superstar to right now being on track to being a Hall of Famer, to being the greatest Knick of all time. That is crazy to think about, truthfully. Jalen Brunson, nobody, I don't care how high you were on Jalen Brunson. And Joel, I always say it, you having the opinion on Jalen Brunson that early, that quickly into buying into him as a Knick, I give you your flowers. This was the highest person I've ever seen on Jalen Brunson. Yeah. And even still, he will tell you himself, he's far surpassed anything that anybody thought that he would be.
Like, he literally, for the Knicks, has looked like the 3-game sample size against the Jazz in the first round, where he averaged 31 a night against them in the playoffs and led the Mavericks to a 2-1 series lead without Luka. Like, he has looked like that for the entirety of the Knicks' tenure.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, he's put in, I mean, every series, every game. You mentioned the stat, just the consistency he has. He's been great, but I think as much credit as Brunson gets, and he deserves the most on the team, when you're going on this championship run, you need those games from everybody, and that's what you guys have been getting, right? You get the Mikal Bridges 14 points, and was that game 1 or game 2 in the fourth quarter, where he just is all of a sudden just holding down this offense? Or is that game 4?
Yeah, that was game 4.
Game 4, where Brunson's on the bench, Mikal has the ball, and he's just, swishing everything, getting to his mid, getting to his pull-up, really being able to really take back control of that game, because it was, at that point, it felt like Boston was going to cruise to a victory. And then you had OG Anunoby, who's had some high highs and low lows, but he gives you those games where he's a super efficient 20 points. Of course, he brings you on defense. You had Cat in game 6. You had Mitchell Robinson the entire series. He was, you can make the argument, like the second most important player, the way he was rebounding the basketball every single game. The defense he was playing, being able to switch onto the perimeter, still protect the rim. He was out of his mind good. Like, this is the best basketball we've probably ever seen Mitchell Robinson play. Like, he is healthy.
Up there at that Cleveland series.
And this looks like a version that, because we didn't really get to see the Knicks with this version of Mitch. You know what I mean? Obviously, during the regular season, he missed damn near the whole year. So having him playing this well, you mentioned how good Deuce has been, but that's what you need, because no team is winning with just Brunson going off for 40. You know what I mean? Like Jokic needed Jamal Murray to go and have an exceptional finals.
Fact.
Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown both had to have each other play. Like no matter what champion you're looking at, it's really the team, and that's why the moves Leon Rose has made. Like it's hard to hit on all of your moves, and that's kind of what it feels like
Absolutely.
now.
And I think one of the coolest things about this team is that they're being spearheaded by a few second-round picks, players that are completely overlooked coming to the draft. Jalen Brunson was the 33rd overall selection coming to Villanova, despite being NCAA champion, one of the best players in college basketball, because people looked at his age and his height and said, is this going to translate to the NBA? And it has with opportunity. Mitchell Robinson was the 36th overall pick, and he didn't even play in college, and then ended up leading to his draft stock falling, and it fell right into a Knicks team in the second round where they took Kevin Knox, that first-round pick, and pretty quickly Mitchell Robinson became the prized possession where, as a rookie, he was on a 17-win team. And year 2 he was on a 21-win team. And year 3, when they finally made the playoffs, he wasn't even healthy for that postseason. So I feel like the player I'm happy for maybe the most is, of course, these players, all of them, but Mitchell Robinson's been here since ground zero of the worst days of the Knicks franchise, when they're excited to see lineups with, shout out to Luke Cornett, but Luke Cornett, Isaiah Hicks, Frank Ntilikina, and Kevin Knox. Days where their best, most productive players are Michael Beasley and Trey Burke off the scrap heap. And to see them come from where they were, Noah Vonleh, I can't forget him.
Michael Beasley was good, bro.
He was. With the Knicks, he was really efficient.
Lefty demon.
He was a solid player for the Knicks.
He was nice.
To see them go from where they were at in 2018 to where they are today in 2025, it's truly one of the coolest turnarounds I've seen in my time as a
Mitchell
sports
Robinson's truck. You saw the truck he was driving?
Yeah.
He's got this big truck just driving through the streets of Manhattan. Just
That was
going all
him?
through. Yeah.
Oh, I was wondering who that was.
He
That's
only cares
fire.
about his basketball, his family, and truck. That's the
He
big
loves
three for
country
him.
music. He's a big country music guy.
Yeah,
Seems
Mitchell
like your kind of
Robinson is
guy.
cool.
Yeah.
He's
a
going
hell
through a
of
lot
player.
of BS, a lot of even fans talking about him, about his health, and not wanting him and
I mean,
stuff.
he was probably in every trade machine that you could think of this time last year.
And
you're
I
not
think Mitchell Robinson being healthy has been an X factor for us. I
sure.
think before Game 6, warped the numbers because we blew the Celtics out. Like Mitchell Robinson had the best plus minus of the team
He was a
by
problem.
far. Like he made an immediate impact. Our starters didn't even have a good plus minus. They had a negative net rating.
Yeah.
So it was really the difference maker. Mitchell Robinson was the difference maker in the series. And, I'm going to take this moment in. I think we just got 4 more wins to go to the finals, 8 more wins to the NBA finals. And we're going to see. We are going to see. But I think this is just a cap on the season hasn't finished just yet. But there's 2 things that that are in my mind right now. Number 1, the cat for Randall and Dante in first-round pick trade. The Knicks-Timberwolves trade was one of the best wins in NBA history. You can go down a line of other trades that maybe have happened. I don't think that 2 players that have gotten traded for each other in that same year have ever made the conference finals. Maybe somebody has the information on that, but in my lifetime, at least, I don't think it's happened. At least 2 star players that are playing to this level. Minnesota got exactly what they wanted, and they're in the conference finals in the West, and they've actually been getting some slack for the teams they face that have kind of been injured as well. They're not getting the most praise right now, even though they're a great team. And Rando has completely shifted the narrative on him and getting people to believe that he's a legit playoff performer and a star. And it took him a long time to get to this point, and he's finally proven himself. And then with the Knicks and Cat, I think Cat has taken a major leap in his game. I think the toughness that he plays with that really wasn't praised in Minnesota because it was a smaller market, he's gotten praised for it in New York. And I think his aggression has made a big difference in this series. And he has proven to be a guy who can lift up his game in pivotal moments, because last night in Game 6, he looked like Game 7, Round 2 Cat against Denver. And I thought he was the best player on the floor, at least until the game was irrelevant for the most part. It wasn't a Brunson game. It was an everybody game. It really, Cat was the most aggressive, and he set the tone early. So I think it's just a win-win trade, and you have to make these type of risks because the Knicks were coming into a season with no Mitchell Robinson. He was hurt. Yeah. We needed a center. And it sucked trading Randall and Dante, but if we had Randall, we were going to start Precious at center. So this was a move that was necessary. No training camp, coming in there, getting situated, and for both of them to do what they've done, I think is remarkable. And then the last thing I'll say is this has been the most unpredictable NBA season that I've covered. We've done this podcast maybe for 4 or 5 years now, and I can't remember an NBA season like this. everybody on ESPN picked the Cavaliers to win their series and picked the Celtics to win their series. And the Pacers and the Knicks are now both in the conference finals. For the most part, everybody picked the Lakers in the first round against the Timberwolves, and they're back in the conference finals. Luka Doncic got traded. Cooper Flagg is going to the Mavericks because the Mavericks won the lottery with a 1.8% chance. And I can name a ton of other things that have been
Jimmy Butler.
unpredictable. Yeah, he gets traded to the Warriors, have been unpredictable this season. This has been one of the most unpredictable seasons in NBA history. And I think the CBA, although very restrictive, has created way more parity in the league now. Like, it is hard to continue to build a team when you're paying so much salary, so you have to make moves, and the moves sometimes either do or don't pan out. For the Knicks and the Wolves, they have panned out, and it has created parity. We don't have a repeating champion for 6 years now. They haven't gotten past the second round, so you think about the final four teams that might be left in this playoffs. The Knicks, Pacers, Wolves, and OKC or Denver. If OKC makes it, we're talking about what? 3 of the teams that have not won a championship ever, and the other one being the Knicks, who haven't won in 50 years. I mean, every year we're getting a new team that comes out on top. The Bucks winning for the first time. The Nuggets winning for the first time. The Raptors winning for the first time in 2019. We're seeing brand new champions, and I think that's great for the league.
Absolutely. Don't forget the Pacers have 3 NBA championships, 70, 72, and 73. Fun fact, but you're right.
Yeah, you're right. Okay.
We're both right.
Yeah. ABA. I don't know if I count that. That's like the Nets having championships.
Yeah.
I definitely don't count ABA, personally.
Respectfully.
Personally.
That's fair.
They
Shout
didn't
out to
merge
the NBA,
just
though.
yet.
Nope.
I know we're going to talk about it eventually, but I feel like it transitions perfectly into this. The Pacers are really good, man.
Yeah.
They are really good. And as much as I am rooting for the Knicks, and I am going to pick the Knicks in this series, the Pacers very well are a team that can win the NBA Finals themselves. They have an amazing offense. Their defense has turned it up a notch as well. And I get that the Cavaliers were injured as well. You could probably make the argument until Tatum went down that they were more banged up than the Boston Celtics. And I think that we did see the Knicks be a little bit more impressive in their win because, again, I think we all saw the Celtics, or the three of us saw the Celtics as the better team opposed to the Cavaliers. But the Pacers offense is probably the most unique in the NBA, as in there's so many different guys that can create for them, and they get out and run, and they're just constantly moving the basketball and creating open shots and finding the open guy. The Indiana Pacers are going to have a real, I don't want to say an easy time scoring the basketball against the Knicks, but we could see more than any series yet that Brunson, that Cat tandem on defense really get put in some tough situations. I'm taking the Knicks to win this series, but you can't go in blind if you're a Knicks fan thinking that, oh yeah, we're just going to walk through Indiana because last year we were up 2-0 and until our guys got hurt, the Pacers were able to come take this series. Indiana's way better than they were last year. Indiana was really good last season, don't get me wrong, but they are way better this season. That's why this matchup is definitely the one that I'm more excited out of the two conference finals. Minnesota versus the Nuggets will be fun if it is a rematch. OKC versus the Wolves is going to be a fun series, no doubt. But this series right here is one of the most anticipated for me that I've seen in some time because it is as even as it gets, if you ask me.
Yeah. I haven't made my pick yet on Knicks Pacers, and I think this series is going to 7 games.
You have one job.
Yeah,
but
as we're talking about it, I'm going to come to a decision.
Okay, I respect that.
All right.
I respect
Wait,
that.
How many games do you have?
I'm going Knicks in 7. I genuinely think it's going to be a dogfight.
I'm going to go into why I do think the Knicks, I can change my pick in the next 10 minutes, but I'm going to lean with the Knicks in a 7-game series, and like you highlighted, and I don't think it's crazy to talk this through to kind of give yourself a better,
No, not at all. I just wanted to make sure you had a pick.
No, me too.
I know where I'm going. I just don't exactly have to me, a clear understanding of exactly how it's going to look.
Okay. No one does.
It reminds me a lot of the Lakers T-Wolves series.
That's your guy.
But it's different. Mm-hmm. It's different because these two teams to me are evenly matched.
We have a center too.
You do have a center. That helps a lot. The Lakers didn't have that. What it comes down to for me is that I think both teams are going to present a lot of challenges for each other. I think the Pacers' pace and their shooting is going to be kind of a deeper and more extreme version of what the Celtics are providing. Of course, Tatum played very well before getting injured. The rest of the supporting cast was very up and down shooters in that series. They made 35% of their threes. The Pacers this postseason are making 40% of their threes.
They're
and they're
nuts.
shooting 50% from the field, too. I'm going with the Knicks in this series for a few reasons. One, I think, while Nembhard's a good defender, I think Brunson's going to outplay Tyrese Halliburton in the series.
Easy.
I think he's going to have a higher floor. I think he's going to be more consistent. On top of that, I think the Knicks are going to get the foul line more. I think they're going to draw a lot more contact. And while the Pacers' pace and their ability to pull cat in the space is going to give them problems on the defensive end, I think in the fourth quarter of these games, which is often going to come down to, the Knicks are going to have a little bit more juice. I believe they're a little more creation. I also look at OG Anunoby and what he and Mikal Bridges can do, whether it's switching off of Halliburton and Nembhard, and I think they're going to limit the two of them to some extent. And on top of that, I kind of have a little bit more optimism in the Knicks bench in this series because we've seen Deuce McBride be one of the most, I talked about in the opening segment of the show, he has been one of the most underappreciated players this postseason. I think he can play better than TJ McConnell. Mitchell Robinson's been great. He's better than any big the Pacers have off their bench. And they've got Obi Toppin, a former Knick top 10 pick as well. Another fun story.
Obi's been cooking.
He's been playing very well. And I do trust the Knicks bench in this matchup a little bit more. And I think Bannock Mathurin can have a game or two, but ultimately I think the Knicks and their 7-man rotation is going to be a better kind of solution to knocking off the Pacers than what they saw last round.
This is fitting. Because when we drafted Obi Toppin, I wanted Tyrese Halliburton on the Knicks.
Yo, well said.
But, things don't happen that way. I thought a point guard was an obvious need at that time.
100%.
Clearly, they didn't think so. And they drafted Maynard quickly later, which was still great. But Halliburton would have been awesome. But then we probably don't get Brunson. So actually, I don't give a shit.
Who cares?
I'm fine. I have a lot of respect for the Pacers. And I never thought I'd say that before, I would say last year. Because I've kind of hated the Pacers for a long time, dating back to the Melo series when they beat us. And then just a history that we have. But because Tyrese, I was such a big fan of him and what he did with the Kings and then going to the Pacers. I remember I went to a Knicks game at MSG when they were playing the Kings. They were the Kings, so the tickets were cheap. And I was watching Halliburton, and I just told the person I was sitting next to me, like, yo, he's a star. Like, I wish the Knicks got him, but,
Okay, LeBron.
I have a big fan. I'm a big fan of Halliburton, and that's why I have become a big supporter of the Pacers. Had they gone up against anybody else, I'd be rooting for them to go to the NBA Finals. Had they gone up against the Celtics, I think not only would they have beat them, obviously, but I think they
obviously was necessary.
They would have went, and I would have been rooting for them. I would have been very happy for them.
I know that.
But now that the Knicks are playing them, the respect is still there, but we're clearly enemies. We're opposing each other. We're looking at each other eye to eye, and this is what it's for, is to get to the NBA Finals. And a lot of your reasoning is why I'm leaning with the Knicks. I'm not only going with the Knicks because I'm a fan, but I'm also an analyst. And we were the 3rd seed this year, and we were a higher seed than them. We were a better regular season team. They did catch fire after 2025. They did. I'll give them that for sure. They looked like a better team for a large part of it. They were better against 500 teams. They looked more fluid. I don't think Indiana is the same team as last year, but I do think their defensive personnel is the same. And I do think that although they play with an increased intensity and now they're picking up full court, they have really put a lot of onus onto playing on that side of the ball. Brunson last year shot 66% when guarded by Andrew Nembhard. I don't think there's anybody on the Pacers that could contain Brunson.
66 is great.
It is. Brunson has just been that unbelievable. And the Pacers, I'll get into what their advantages are first. I think they're the most unselfish team left in the playoffs.
Definitely.
They're first in assist percentage. The Knicks are dead last in assist percentage in these playoffs. It kind of shows you the different styles they play. The Pacers like to spread the sugar and create advantageous matchups, and the Knicks are more so one-on-one Brunson ball or cat, and then that's how we kind of go. It's not a lot of things to the Knicks offense, although it's been expanding, especially in this series against the Celtics. So that's an advantage the Pacers have. The pace they play with is an advantage, and when you are a deeper team that can go 10 guys deep like the Pacers can, and you run that fast, you keep your bodies fresh at all times, and that could wear down the Knicks. And I think they have the obvious depth advantage. They have so many players off their bench that they trust in playoff moments. TJ McConnell, Benedict Mathurin, who wasn't there last year, who's been awesome this year, especially in the playoffs. Then you have Obi Toppin and somebody like Thomas Bryant and Ben Shepherd giving you valuable minutes. Jarris Walker, if he could play. So they could go deep. Here's why I think in this specific scenario, I'm not that bought into it. in the playoffs, your best players are playing 42 plus minutes a night. The best 5 are going to be on the court at all times, and everybody understands that. Jalen Brunson, OG, and Mikal are essentially playing 40 plus minutes in the playoffs right now. They know what it takes. This is the 5 we're going with. We have Deuce and Mitch off the bench, so we have a 7-man rotation. And I think Campaign for maybe 5 minutes on end could catch a little fire and do something. He did something when the Suns went on their finals run. So I think that the
Pistons in game 1.
The Knicks have more than enough to stay fresh and to have the conditioning to perform late in these games, and they've showed it throughout the playoffs. And the pace of play, I think for the first 3 quarters, it's an advantage. The Pacers' pace of play is, I think, 103 or 106 pace. In the fourth quarter, it drops all the way down to 93 because in the fourth quarter, the game slows down, and it's about isolation basketball. And Jalen Brunson in the fourth quarter has the most points in the fourth quarter by far, is shooting 51% in the fourth and 48% from 3. He has been unstoppable. He has been unguardable. And I think the Knicks' advantages are, I think we are a similar rebounding team to them. I think we have a better defense. Even though the Pacers' defense has looked good, the Knicks with Mitchell Robinson are a top 10 defense, and we have Mikal and OG. I trust Mikal Bridges to guard Tyrese for the entirety of the series, and I trust OG to guard Siakam for the entirety of the series, and I'm fine with those matchups. So I think we have the defensive advantage, and I think we have the fourth quarter and the shot-making advantage. They don't have a shot maker like Jalen Brunson. They don't have a player who can dominate the game like Jalen Brunson.
Nope.
Jalen Brunson could go on 5 to 6 minute stretches where he is hitting every single shot, and there's nothing that you can do about it no matter what you do. And as much love as I have for Tyrese, he doesn't have that same shot-making ability. And I think most of these playoff series, it comes down to your roster, but who the best player leading that roster is. And Jalen Brunson is the best player in this series. And it's not a one-man show. It's been a collection of everybody contributing. And I think we are going to make up for the ghosts of the past. We're going to make up for blowing a 2-0 series lead last year. We're going to make up for Melo losing in 6 against the Pacers. We're going to make up for 2000, the last time we made the ECF, for losing in that series against who? The Pacers. We've lost to them 3 straight times in the playoffs, and it's not going to happen a fourth. I think we're going to win this series, and we're going to the NBA Finals.
I like what you said a lot about the Pacers have 3 top 10 picks coming off their bench, all in the early stages of their career, and they do have 5 or 6 guys that they could throw out there, but we see so often in the postseason, like Boston last year, the Nuggets 2 years ago, it really does come down to your top 7 guys.
Yep.
And that's where you saw with Deuce in the first series, he was quiet. In the second series, he was fantastic. And Mitch, that forms a lineup which is everything the Knicks need. And I feel like to build off what you said, I really like how much pressure the Knicks wing duo can put on Tyrese Haliburton off the dribble. He's going to have a tough time. If he's got OG switching on to him and Mikal Bridges starting possessions on him. Coming into their elimination game in the Cavs series, Haliburton was shooting 29% from 3 this postseason. He was playing electric, great. I think it was 56% from 2, and he showed some growth there as a finisher. But when you've got Mitchell Robinson in the paint and tough kind of on-ball defense, I don't think he's going to have the same success off the dribble either. So I feel like in this series, what's going to stand out to me is that they're going to have to count Nembhard a lot more and Aaron Nesmith. And while Haliburton struggled from 3, Nesmith has been an absolute scorcher this postseason. The question is whether or not he can maintain that level of play. He's been giving you 15 points a game on damn near 50% shooting from 3.
And what you said, I think, is correct about Haliburton. Like, the thing about him is that I think he's good for 2 big-time scoring games in a series.
That's fair.
Maybe I'm wrong, and I jinx him, and he freaking averages 25 this series. I don't know. But from what I've seen, I think he's good for 2 explosive scoring games in a series.
Yeah.
If he gives you that.
I was just going to say, when we, on the live, you said that he was like, the Wolves got Ant, Thunder got SJ, and you were like, the Pacers got Haliburton. I was like, Haliburton just, the one thing he's missing is scoring from those guys.
Yeah. Like Brunson, he can average 30 to 35 for the entirety of the series. He can average 30 every game. He can have 30 every game. Nobody would be shocked. Haliburton is going to be some games of 15, 16, 18,
He
26.
puts up
But he's-
11-point games sometimes.
But he impacts the
9-point
game
games.
past that.
He's more than
I definitely
he's
understand
points
that.
created.
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
him.
that
Absolutely.
is him. But that's gonna be the difference. And I think the Steve Nash comp gets thrown to him. I think as recently it's been really popularized.
You started that.
Yeah, I know I did, but now it's popularized, so I want to move away from it now.
Riff started
Um,
against his will.
Against
but
his will.
it's with that, like Steve Nash in the playoffs, he was a points creator guy, but there were moments where he lifted his game up to like average 26 for a series. Like he could do that. So I think Halliburton, maybe the development happens in real time, and we see it in this series.
Halliburton cooked last year against you guys.
He did. He
Yeah,
did.
he's great. I think
Especially after game 2.
Correct.
Yeah, especially after that. Yeah.
if he has one of those performances, one of those series, I should say, where he does average like 24 to 26, then Halliburton be put in different conversations. But
You're right.
the scoring inconsistency, I feel like obviously the deeper you get into the playoffs, you're gonna be better. You're gonna be playing better teams, and I think you need your
Better
best
defenses.
player to go out there, and you can't have multiple games like under 15 points in a series. I think it's gonna be really hard to beat this Knicks team. This is a tough series. I think both teams, like anything, have some clear advantages. I think the one thing I'm looking at is when I just look at the units of these teams, right? Pacers offense, defense, same with the Knicks. I trust the Pacers offense more than anything. I feel like the floor that they've shown throughout these playoffs is they could be the best offense in basketball over a playoff stretch, right? We've seen them be one of the best offense in basketball for a great stretch of the regular season. So the way that Boston can lose themselves on offense, which, credit to the Knicks too, it wasn't just Boston just being ass, but they could fall into just like settling for bad shots. They could fall into a lot of isolation basketball. Yeah, just bad habits overall. And on top of that, they went on a spell where they were really cold, right? Again, some of that is Boston's own doing. Some of that is from the New York Knicks. But the Pacers have basically shown the opposite of that so far through these first 2 rounds. They've been super hot from 3, and maybe they're due to go cold. But more than anything, it's just their offense, I feel like, consistently generates great shots, right? I know that they have great defenders, the Knicks, and like OG and McHale, but it's not like the Pacers are winning their basketball or winning, offensive sets by just going one-on-one against these guys. Like, we know how fluid this offense is, especially when you talk about getting out in transition and just cross-matching and being able to take advantages there. So I feel like I trust that unit more than anything. But when you do talk about the fourth quarter and when you do talk about like needing a bucket, I understand where the Knicks have that clear advantage, right? The Knicks do have Jalen Brunson, who's been the best fourth quarter scorer over, multiple seasons so far in the playoffs, not just this postseason. But really the X factor, I think, is once again going to be Mitchell Robinson. I thought in that series against Boston, as much as all the dudes deserve credit, it was those minutes with Mitch out there, even when it was Hack and Mitch, he was dominating for stretches. And the one area I think the Pacers could really get taken advantage of is on the glass. In the regular season, they were a bottom 5 rebounding team. So far in the playoffs, they're in like the bottom third. This is not a team that's going to be getting or dominating the boards in really any capacity. Mitchell Robinson has the ability to, like he did against Boston, give you 6 offensive rebounds a night, give you different chances for second chance opportunities. And that's what we saw a lot in that Boston series. It was them getting out in transition. It was them dominating the glass. Like, those are 2 areas that, although the Pacers are going to get out in transition too, being able to get second chance points I think would be huge in this series. I've been going back and forth. I think I have the Pacers winning it, though.
I get it.
I think I have the Pacers winning it.
It's tough, though.
In 6 games closing out at home.
6.
I don't know if they could go Game 7 in MSG and take it. That's why I got them winning in 6.
Fair enough.
Yeah, I think it's really close. Again, I have no problem with the Knicks. It's, the Knicks are slightly favored. I was looking at one of the sports books earlier, but I think it's going to be a great series. I agree with you, Drew. I think this is more exciting than whatever we got in the East, or excuse me, in the West, because these are 2 teams that are obviously like have star power, right? Especially the Knicks when you're talking about Brunson, a top 10 guy, but just they have, 6 to 7 guys that could all impact the game in different ways. You have 2 kind of different, coaching styles as well. But I think it's going to be a really good series.
There's 2 things that I want to say. One thing related to Joel and then one thing related to Joel. To Joel's point, you talk about them not having a player as dominant or as dominant as Jalen Brunson. That's 100% true. The thing with the Pacers that makes them so special and so unique is that that's not what has gotten them to this point. I think that that's why I look at this series, and it genuinely is an even matchup to me.
They have a better offense than us.
100%. I just think that it's a system offense as opposed to how much isolation the Knicks go through. The fact that they don't have that dominant offensive player, yet their offense is still insanely dynamic and super efficient. I think that that's what would scare me if I am a Knicks fan in this series. But another point about the clutch scoring. The Knicks are definitely the clutcher of the two. However, in every clutch situation this postseason by the Pacers,
2 all-timers. But to be fair, so the Knicks have also had 2 all-timers.
100%. Yeah. Again, I'm leaning with the Knicks in clutch situations, but I get goosebumps at the 2 comebacks that the Pacers have had this postseason. One against the Bucks that should have never happened, and then one against the Cavaliers, which also should not have happened.
Every game the Cavs series,
but there's been one constant in those situations too. Tyrese Halliburton.
He's made big bucket after big bucket.
In the clutch, he has shown that you can go to him and rely on him.
And he's been a top 5 player in the clutch this year.
That is why I say I agree with where you're coming from. I think that when it comes to the star power, obviously we lean with the Knicks. I think that when it comes to their defense and their versatility, I also do lean the Knicks there. It is such a good matchup. But I just think that where we look at advantages for the Knicks, the Pacers are right there with them.
You're right. I love what both of you said. I'm glad you went with the Pacers because I can see it. Like, I didn't see in the last round them being the Cavs in 5 games. And they're an underrated team. And the best way to describe their offense is a death by 1,000 cuts. It's you score the ball, and they're taking the... And we saw this yesterday. Cat, he's scoring. He's doing the flexing and shit. Jaylen Brown's like, fuck you. I'm taking this shit to the rim. Cat's doing his fucking shit, and Jaylen Brown's going right by him. In this Pacer series, you do that, good luck. Because they're going to get a bucket every single time if you're celebrating. You got to get back on defense. I do think that when you look at the Bucks and the Cavs in the first 2 rounds, they didn't, and I fucked up on the Cavs. I thought they're going to the finals this year. I didn't see injuries coming. But the one blind spot with the Cavs is that they didn't have the point of attack defense. No. And this postseason has highlighted how important that is. And it's a marriage between rim protection and point of attack defense. You can't necessarily have a consistently elite defense with one and not the other. We've seen that so often going back to Gobert's days in Utah, which actually kind of affected his perception as a player entirely from just poor support on the perimeter. The Knicks are a different story. You have OG Anunoby, one of, if not the best isolation defender in the sport, and Mikal Bridges, who was smothering in this Celtics series. And you've got Deuce McBride coming off the bench. He's getting to the ball as well. And
Hart's a good defender too.
Even Josh Hart,
no doubt.
He's not
the energy is crazy.
He hasn't had the best lateral quickness, but he's going to play physical enough and tough enough to not give you easy buckets in the paint. And it's a complete 180 to the Bucks series where in a clutch situation, they don't have anyone. They don't have any dogs. And then in the Cavs series, they're relying on DeAndre Hunter with the sprained finger. He's not really playing like himself, and a series of different guards who are hurt. So I think, while it's true that the Pacers' offense has been very clutch, and their offense has been very consistent because they can get any look they want, and they're a tiring team to play, I do believe that the Knicks pose more physical advantages, which are going to limit a Pacer team that's not necessarily the best at one-on-one self-creation.
That's why I think that offensive rating numbers for playoff teams can be misleading because you're not facing the same opponent. The Pacers went up against a Bucks defense that is trash. No defensive resistance at the rim. Outside of Giannis, maybe in a couple possessions, but they do the best to try to get him out of those situations. Even though I think Giannis did have some bad defensive moments in that series, but he had to carry such a load offensively. And their best defenders were Gary Trent and AJ Green and Brian Rollins, and then Dame before he got hurt. So I mean, they had nothing. The Pacers were able to get whatever they wanted against the Cavs. Darius Garland on a bum ankle. Donovan Mitchell, on a bum toe. Donovan Mitchell on a bum ankle. Max Strus is their best perimeter defender. DeAndre Hunter, like, are we kidding? Mm-hmm. This is like nowhere near the caliber of Mikal Bridges and OG Anunoby, like at all. Like Josh Hart would go to the Cavs and be their best perimeter defender that plays meaningful minutes.
I'd say.
I agree with your guys' sentiment 1,000%. I'm not here disagreeing. To me, it sounds like we're trying to discredit them a bit.
It's not discrediting. I think
who?
The Pacers.
You're one of the biggest OG Anunoby fans.
I love OG. Oh, listen. Again, I agree with your sentiment. I'm agreeing where you're coming from. Because the Knicks defense are different. The Knicks defense, the wing defense is different. Thank you, John, for acknowledging my love for OG Anunoby. We've been here, and he's showing me.
A long time.
God bless
I just
them.
don't think they've played perimeter defenders that are as good as ours.
I agree with
Nah,
you.
definitely
I
not.
agree with that wholeheartedly. And we saw the series last year change when OG Anunoby went down. He's going to be the big difference. And also, Miles Bridges turning it up in the playoffs, both offensively and defensively. Yeah. That's the big difference, the wing duo. That being said, I say that where nobody picked the Pacers against the Cavs. Nobody.
No one saw the injuries in their defense.
True.
But injuries are part of every postseason.
They won game 2, and they shouldn't have.
Agreed.
In the clutch in game 5, they were the better team. They were getting smoked in the first half, and then they went on a run, and the announcer said it best, and I wish that I was awake for the live that you guys did, because the announcer hit a home run. The Pacers go on that 20-0 run. They go up 6 points. The announcer says, and I'm getting goosebumps again, this 6-point lead feels like 20 points. The Cavs couldn't score. The Cavs simply could not get a bucket, and this was one of the best offenses we've ever seen statistically.
when healthy.
Correct. That's where I look at this Indiana team. We can't sleep.
Yeah,
I mean, I don't know.
this going
Look,
to 7
I'm not.
games.
Nobody is
You can't
overlooking
tell
the
me I'm
Pacers.
asleep.
The Pacers
I
had the
just
top
think-
2 offense in the regular season.
Yes.
Against Boston last year in the ECF, their offense was still fine when Tyrese
sure.
Halliburton was there.
Very
They've
close.
But I think
shown
it's about
to beat up on good
It's
defenses
about
too.
acknowledging the Cavaliers. Darius Garland could not get a foot in the paint. He couldn't move off his foot at all.
For sure.
Donovan Mitchell's rim pressure dropped off dramatically after game 2 when he got his ankle injury. Evan Mobley came back from a sprained ankle too, I believe.
Yeah.
It was one of those things. DeAndre Hunter's thumb was messed up. Now,
Shooting thumb.
If they were healthy, the Pacers could have still won. And there were moments where, yes, the Cavaliers players were on the floor. Were they healthy when they were on the floor? I mean, that's up for interpretation. I just saw a clearly hampered Garland who couldn't do anything. That's what I saw. But I'm not discrediting the Pacers because they deserve to be in this moment, and they had the 4th best record after January in the NBA. So this is an elite level team that I'm not overlooking. I just believe that the Knicks, Brunson specifically, going from in the first round being guarded by Asar Thompson to in the second round having to match up with Jaylen Brown and Derek White and Drew Holiday and Jason Tatum
100%.
and Al Horford in stretches to now going to Nembhard and Nesmith is, I mean, he's going to a lighter defensive coverage versus the Pacers are going to, although offense still elite, they're going to a heightened defensive look and a better defense than they've played these playoffs, where this is not the best defense the Knicks have played these playoffs.
To the Pacers' defense, though, they beat the Cavs in 5 games. They beat the Cavs, although not at 100%. They're healthy.
Well, Cavs
They had a clutch win. It's not that different than how we were looking with the Knicks in Boston. Like, we talked about the Knicks in Boston.
You're funny.
They're weak. They're weak.
Funny, bro.
Bro, the Cavs, they just mentally, they're not mentally tough.
Okay, stop.
Yo.
Relax.
If anything, they're not physically tough.
They
Because
were
their
hurt.
bodies unfortunately
They were
break
hurt,
down.
But I'm saying back when the lights were too bright for Jared Allen too, let's not forget that. You know,
But
they just folded.
Joel, we gave all the credit to the Knicks regardless of Boston's injuries.
We
Because
were up 3-1.
Okay, they won in 5 games.
We
They
were
won
up
in-
3-1 and y'all
they
was
did
held.
win in 5.
They won in 5
They won
games.
both series in 5.
Like, I don't understand why, like, we're giving the Knicks all the credit deservedly, but we're not giving like, sure, the Cavs dealt
Who
with
says I'm
injuries
not
they
giving
were
the
missing.
Pacers? Have the Knicks dealt with more injuries in their run than the Pacers have?
No,
Knicks have
neither
been
team
healthy.
has really been injured.
Knicks have played healthy teams.
No, that's what he's saying. That the Pistons were healthy. That the Celtics were healthy.
Oh,
Even though
yeah.
Celtics,
But I mean,
Brown
you're saying
they
Brown
were
Biscuits.
healthy, but not
like,
really.
You're saying like, oh, the Cavs guys were out there. Porzingis was out there.
I was
Looked
gonna
like
say,
shit.
he's
Jaylen
right.
Brown was out there. Half the series
You won the
did not look
finals
good.
last year with no Porzingis.
No,
I know for sure, but
Game 1.
obviously,
Game 1.
that's not Joel's point. Go ahead, explain. I apologize.
But also in this run, like Jaylen Brown was not good for like 3 or 4 games.
Okay,
this
so
series,
answer me
like,
this
he
question.
wasn't 100% either.
The Knicks path to the conference finals versus the Pacers path to the conference finals. Which one was tougher?
It was still probably the Knicks.
That's what I'm saying. That's all I'm saying.
But I'm not saying. I just think that both teams in the second round, they played teams that were banged up, but they also won pretty
comfortably.
Exactly.
Comfortably.
Like the Pacers won in 5.
I wouldn't
They
even
were
say
up 3-1
did,
too,
Did the
like-
Knicks win comfortably? Like
No.
it was them
The game
coming back in
six- game
dog
six
fights.
closed
Pacers
the-
won much more comfortably than the Knicks
Yes.
did. But I'm going to get into the matchups point because you talked about the rebound and stuff. I think Cat has to be dominant in this series. And I think he has a chance to.
I agree.
These are the two things I'm looking for. The Pacers are looking to push the pace. The Knicks are looking to slow it down.
100%.
That battle, whoever wins that, I think in large part will dictate the series. Number 2, I think Rick Carlisle is going to try to match Cat's minutes with Miles Turner as much as possible. Outside of Miles Turner, there is no other big body that could contain Cat. Cat is going to get his way.
Pascal?
Pascal is too small for Cat. Cat is a true 7-footer.
6'8".
Pascal's like what? Yeah, 6'8". He's skinny as hell.
This was one of Pascal's best
He
defensive.
can't contain Cat.
I'm not saying he can contain
No.
Cat. Can Miles Turner contain
Well,
Cat?
he's a true 7. He's a 6'11", 7-footer.
I'm
and
just
he has a
saying to
body.
say that there's no one else.
I mean, Miles Turner's been their best defender in the playoffs this year. He's blocking shots like no one. Like
That's
no
been
tomorrow.
him.
No, but he's been awesome defensively. He has the weight. He's what, 265 pounds?
Yeah.
He has the weight to handle those Cat bumps. What is Pascal, like 220?
230.
You know, at most,
235
you know,
probably.
I just think that matchup, they're going to have to match those minutes as much as possible. And what that means,
It's 245. Respect him.
Pascal?
It's a big boy.
It's not Basketball Reference
I'm not
will tell
believing
you.
it. I'm not believing it.
Well, first off, Google shorted him. They gave him 6'8". So he's 6'8",
He is
245.
He is
All right,
6'8".
so we agreed 6'8", but not 245?
Well, basketball.
Pick one.
Basketball
What do you think- how
Reference
much do you
will
think he
tell
weighs?
15 pounds
I
less.
think that's
Oh
fine.
no, sorry. Well, how much do you think he weighs? Like
I think it was
230?
like 230.
You said 220. You both are out of your fucking mind.
No, we said
I feel like
230.
he's probably like 230.
He said 230.
I am a-
He said 235.
I am a man of research. Basketball Reference will tell you 6'8", 230. That's what I said.
But Google tells you 245, 6'8".
I don't know what type of timing Google be on. That's my thing.
I'm
Is it
just
the
Wait, you
Google
said,
AI?
wait, you said 235, 6'8"?
No, I said
Google.
245.
There's no way Pascal's 245.
He's a
bro.
big boy.
Yeah, I would think he's a little less than 245, but I don't think he's not 220.
What's
no
Cat?
way.
220 was nuts.
220
Let's
is
see.
fucking skin. bro.
NBA.com will tell you 245.
All right.
NBA.com is wrong.
Pascal's,
All right.
Pascal's 6'8".
Yes, he has
not,
4
he doesn't
inches
look
on
skinny.
Cat. He has 4 inches on Pascal. He has 3 pounds.
Cat is 248.
248.
There is no way in hell.
You
bro,
can't look.
Are you believing
Cat,
that?
Cat
yes,
is just
but-
built
Are you believing
like
that?
bigger,
Really?
broader
No,
than Siakam.
because he's 7
Yeah.
feet tall.
But
No,
even
bro,
so,
bro,
this is
no,
body.
no,
He
bro,
has
bro,
a-
be
more
serious.
stout.
You look at Pascal,
he's
you look at Cat, you think that's a 3-pound advantage?
Pascal's a big guy.
No, it.
Also, Cat's
Cat
just
is a
taller, so he
bulkier-
would lengthen out more. He would have to be, you know what I mean, have some more
Cat is
pounds
a
on him.
bulkier, big, that probably
Dells,
water.
What does
You believe that?
NBA.com tell you?
You
No,
think
I
Cat
don't
only
think
has
so.
3 pounds on Siakam?
I feel like he would have like 10
don't
to
Oh,
believe
15.
no.
One
Basketball
day.
Reference. What do they say, John?
Oh, God.
What do they say?
248.
Let's get these
248.
guys on a scale, man.
248.
Figure this out.
What does Basketball Reference say? That's your website. I'm just saying, the stupidest argument we could have gotten. On. All that to say, I think it's more than just Miles Turner. That's all I'm
but
saying.
no, I don't think. I think that Cat will dominate Pascal.
Dominate? No.
Yes.
Will he?
He will
get
dominate
will
him.
he have moments
No,
where he
he will-
wins?
he
Like
will
Cat
dominate
Cat
him.
was able to kind of have his way with Horford at times, and Horford's a strong guy.
He is, but he's also 37.
But
See, I thought
we've
don't
seen
make
Al
that
Horford
dad
lock
strong,
up a
man.
lot of dudes.
Last
A
year,
lot of dudes.
Embiid.
Even this year too.
I'm gonna
Against
be
like
honest.
Paolo.
Jaylen Brown, Pascal Siakam guarding the post, their strength is similar. And Cat was babying Jaylen Brown.
I mean, he's
like,
also
like legitimately pushing him out the way, getting to the
Holiday,
paint,
too.
and moving
Not
him like
shocked.
3 feet.
Drew Holiday's locked up Embiid.
What is
Fair
Jaylen
enough.
Brown's weight?
Probably 225.
Can you search it
Say
up?
like
230 maybe.
Because there is
do you
no
not
way,
trust me to do it? Because I'll do it.
There is no way you look at Jaylen Brown and Pascal Siakam and you think that Pascal Siakam has like a 15-pound advantage over him.
Well, who you think Pascal is Jaylen Brown's height and weight. 6'6", 220.
220.
Are you, so he has
Yes!
no, bro. I'm not.
Pascal's a power forward.
Bro, no, but I'm looking. Watch him. Watch him. Watch him.
I
Look at
love
Look at
Pascal.
how he looks.
I
There's
know.
some, there's some skinny
We're
power
debating like a
forwards.
10-pound difference, man.
No,
You know
no.
what
No,
I
are
mean?
you
Like,
serious? I don't believe that for 1 second. I don't.
telling you.
I'm just saying.
What information's available to us is what I'm giving
I'm just saying. You look at.
I think the information's inconclusive.
Yeah.
I think that's what it's telling
You know,
us.
you're right, because Jalen Brunson's DK is 6'1". He might be 5'10".
You can't trust anything.
I'm basically looking at on the court. When I look at on the court, Jaylen Brown and the type of definition and the depth of his body
You're
versus Pascal
glazing.
Siakam.
Yeah,
But
I
you're
mean,
telling.
Brown's
But what?
he's a stout guy.
NBA.com basically gave you a 20-pound difference between Pascal Siakam and Jaylen Brown.
I believe it.
You believe that?
Yes.
You believe that?
One's a
Siakam's
shooting
bigger.
guard. One's
Yeah.
a power
He's
forward.
1 inch taller than Jaylen
2
Brown.
inches. 2 inches.
Yeah.
It says he's 6'8".
Yes.
Jaylen
Brown's
Brown's
6'6".
6'7".
Just
Six,
we don't
six,
listen.
six, six,
Regardless,
220.
Whatever.
What's the point here? What's the point?
I already said the
cat
point.
shit, like
What's
we already
that?
know.
I said
Cat's
that.
gonna
The
get
point-
buckets on Siakam.
And he's
I
gonna
know
get
he is.
buckets on Miles Turner.
The point that I'm making is that the only player that can consistently take away Cat physically dominating inside is Miles Turner. That's it.
There's
and
another
the
person.
and the
Siakam's
Pacers
gonna have possessions
Yes.
against him, or he'll
the
hold his own.
Pacers have a backup center in Thomas Bryant that I think is their only backup center, which is a worry for them.
Agreed.
And if you're matching the minutes with Miles Turner versus Cat, and then Thomas Bryant comes in, and let's say Cat's not on the court, and then you have Mitchell Robinson out there, we're going to win that rebounding advantage by so much because he's such a better rebounder than Thomas Bryant. It's going to give us extra possessions,
Definitely.
and we're going to have more shot opportunities. So I say that all to say that's going to be a chess match in this series. I don't think it's going to be like, yeah, we have Siakam in there, we're fine with Cat. No, I think Cat's going to have his way.
Cat is gonna have his way.
I think Miles Turner is the best case scenario in guarding Cat.
But if that's the case, that's why I look at that matchup and think, Cat should be a dominant
I don't
force.
know. If I'm Carlisle, I might just go with Jarris Walker in those small stretches, those small pockets, instead of Thomas Bryant off the bench, because Thomas Bryant's going to be barbecue chicken as a defender.
So is Jarris Walker.
Jarris Walker, bro.
Dude, that's just like Jarris Walker's second year.
That's
he
a
was
lot.
top
You're
10
asking
pick.
a lot on Jarris.
He was a top 10
You're
pick because he
asking a
was a
lot.
Swiss Army knife defensive prospect.
He's better as a help side defender, and I think guarding in the perimeter
Yes.
against bigger wings,
but
but not
he's
in
I think he's a better matchup than Thomas Bryant defensively.
I agree. Thomas Bryant's not that good
But
defensively.
there is another person that could take Karl Anthony Towns out this series, and it's himself.
out this.
Oh,
He
out
said,
himself.
and it's himself.
I think you were about to say Obi Toppin.
Because in this postseason, he's averaging 4.5 fouls per game, and a lot of them are really stupid. I look at Game
Does have
5.
bad fouls.
Cat is too valuable a player to be as irresponsible as he has been, as reckless as he has been offensively.
He might
It's
get
him
some
committing
offensive fouls just running Pascal
And
Siakam.
that is something which
Don't be mad because the numbers proved you wrong.
I don't think they're true. I don't believe it.
Question everything.
in this series, they need Cat to be on his best behavior. He needs to be a lot more responsible. He needs to be in these games to close.
Yeah,
And if
hopefully he's doing this for years.
if he can't fix this, which is an important thing, because like you highlighted, it's been a recurring theme throughout his career, then the series, and this is why I come in this segment, I said I think I know who I'm going with, but I want to talk it through before I feel great about it.
He's
Are you
gonna
flip
It's
flopping?
because of
Yo,
this.
flip aside
Are you
on
flipping?
one episode?
No,
20 minutes apart?
Yo, you're nuts.
no.
Who are you
I'm
picking?
I'm picking the Knicks.
Okay.
I also told you at the start of the segment, I think it's going to be a 7-game series.
Agreed.
And I'm laying out a pathway.
He's
for
pulling
the
a
Pacers.
Joel.
Bad.
Pulling a Joel.
And this is why I said I think that it's too close to
But
call.
I gave the Pacers all the respect in the world. I gave him all the respect.
God forbid someone
not
provides context.
Google says that Jason Tatum weighs 209 pounds.
I believe that.
No,
I-
I don't.
You gotta
No
get him
fucking
out.
He's
way.
the most lean. He's
A
lean
zero.
as fuck.
There's a
Dude, he's
fucking
still like
he's 6'9".
6'9".
There's a
He's-
0% chance. He weighs
Jason
209
Tatum
pounds.
is lean.
He's lean and
as
Siakam
hell.
isn't?
Not Jason
I
Tatum.
don't think Tatum's like 220. He's got definitions on his arm.
No,
you know what I
Jason
mean?
Tatum
Like,
is
he's a skinny guy,
OD
but
cut.
yeah, 6'9", you know, like
Bro.
You seen him with his shirt off?
yeah,
He's thin.
he is, but you know what I mean? He's got a little something there.
He's at
Who do we
least
think
220.
Pascal Siakam is in terms of like thickness or
He's
thinness?
a power forward.
do you want,
Big
his waist size?
body.
Yeah.
I gave you his waist size.
No, his
Oh,
waist.
His waist, though. See if he
I'm
snatched
like,
or not.
Yeah, like it's probably like maybe like 30, 34, you think? I don't
The
know.
information that we have, Joel, I gave it to you.
Jason Tatum is the same height, if not taller, than Pascal Siakam.
He's taller,
Yeah.
probably.
And there's no way that I believe Tatum's 209 pounds and Siakam has like a 30-pound difference
Yeah,
on him.
209.
This-
Really
this is-
Jason
skinny.
Tatum's also way more athletic than Pascal
This is,
Siakam.
well, but that has nothing to do with weight, though.
No, but it means like quickness and
Okay, I'm going to
You
show.
put the two next to each other, Tatum's bigger.
yeah.
He's listed
That's-
as 210
look,
in basketball reference.
This is Tatum. This is Tatum, Team USA. This is, okay.
You're just looking at his build right now.
This is Siakam. This is
nuts.
He's wide.
The Siakam.
Tatum is wide too. He's got a wide frame. You want to play this game? Now listen, I think to build off what I was trying to say before, Karl Anthony Towns needs to be having a B+ series. He needs to be in these games to close for the Knicks to win it. And if he's not, then the series opens up to the Pacers. I think that is a very fair thing to say as someone's taking the Knicks in this series. And I want to see Cat. The last 3 games, 4 fouls, 5 fouls, 5 fouls, 6. He's got to be a lot more responsible in the offense.
I'll say this.
Even if he's not opposing as well as a scorer entirely.
Tatum's listed at 210 everywhere.
Really?
He did say 2 years ago that he was 6'9", 225 at the start of the 2023 season.
This is Siakam standing like in a similar fashion as Tatum was standing in that picture. There is no way you think Pascal Siakam looks bigger than Tatum.
I'll be honest though, a
big guy.
10-pound difference, like low key, I don't know if you really be able to tell that.
Yeah, it could be in like your lower body instead of your upper body.
Being that ass.
Tatum at least looks like the same weight as Siakam. If not, he weighs a little bit more.
Okay, man.
That I'm just saying. I just don't believe. I just don't believe in that. Man, I wish we could get updated numbers, man.
Just say I don't care.
Holy man.
I don't care. That being said, it's going to be an amazing series, and I actually
start,
cannot
Tuesday?
wait. Tuesday, bro. We're
Excited?
spoiled.
No, Wednesday.
Oh, Tuesday's the Western Conference Final. Excuse me.
Wednesday's the East.
Yeah, it's going to be lit. Wait, Wednesday's East.
Wednesday's the East.
Got it.
Yeah.
This is low key the best time too, because as much as like I love having 1,000 games and whatnot, the Eastern Conference and Western Conference Finals, there's one game. It's every other day. That's
Movie.
perfect.
Movie.
Yeah, and they don't start. One doesn't start at 10:30 too. Like that's so nice.
We should do a poll. Just looking at Kat and Pascal side by side, what do you think is the weight difference between these two?
Don't be
guess it'd be
upset
like-
that Google said you were wrong.
It is Tatum was 209 pounds.
You're dragging it. You're dragging
Bro,
it.
I guess
just-
this
I'm
cat's
just
got
very
15 pounds on him.
All
That's
I'm
my
gonna
guess.
say
I'm
is
saying that
Google
at
said
least 20.
I was
is closer
right.
to
Let it go.
No, Tatum's closer to 240 than he is 200.
Tatum is closer to
I don't
Kat
disagree with you.
than Siakam is.
I
think,
don't.
in
So
my
that
mind.
means-
Tatum also is
So Google is
lean.
tripping.
Tatum is in some
Tatum
of
is
the
lean.
Yes.
I mean, yeah, he's
you know
definitely
what lean is?
skinny.
He's
you
in
know what
great
lean
But
shape.
is?
he's definitely.
You know what it is?
He's got a
Actually,
flat stomach.
That's what I'm saying.
He's got a flat
And-
stomach.
But he's fucking.
But he's low-key got
hockey.
Dorito back. He's got arms that are
not-
strong.
Tatum
you
is
know
more.
what I mean?
Tatum is
Like,
more
OD.
hockey than Siakam.
100%.
Yeah.
This is an
100%.
Like Siakam doesn't have like he's lean too.
Like
you've seen Tatum
what's
flex?
Tatum's body fat percentage? If
It's
you
low.
said it
It's
was
so
like
low.
As an NBA
6,
player,
I'd
it's
believe
low.
you.
Yeah.
if you
low.
said Siakam's was 5%, I'd believe you.
I don't know.
He's
5 is low.
bro.
He's not. His body fat percentage is definitely not lower than Tatum's.
Siakam is thinner than Tatum.
No.
Just watching it, what you don't think that?
No.
I don't know. Now they're both like
Yeah,
thinner
yeah.
guys. You know what I mean?
Yeah,
Neither
they
of them
are.
are chunky.
I'm looking forward to
No.
what the comments say about this. This is a debate that really needs to have.
No, it didn't
have
need to
questions
happen.
answered.
I wasn't even trying to have a debate.
No, I'm not trying to have a debate either. I just don't believe those numbers.
Sorry, pal.
I'm not even having a debate with you. I'm having a debate with NBA.com with the weight numbers. It's
I
just,
respect that.
You think no? Honestly speaking, Tatum, Siakam side by side. You think that Tatum is like thinner?
No.
You think Siakam is thinner, right?
Absolutely. But I think, like Dallas highlighted, the weight can be distributed in different ways. Like, there's examples of players, like, how does Kevin Durant weigh 240 pounds and Giannis weighs 250 when you put them side by side? Because Giannis looks like he could bench press KD,
You're
and
right.
KD can't even do 185 at the combine.
You're right.
But a lot of the time, that weight can be distributed in your lower half, it can be in your ass, it could be anywhere. And I think that is a case where maybe Pascal does weigh the same amount as Tatum, the same height, but I think 10 out of 209 is wild. He's probably 230. He's probably
I'm
230.
curious now to know Aaron Gordon's weight. Because I think Aaron Gordon
looks
is
big.
Okay.
Aaron Gordon, I would guess like
if
240.
he is the same weight as Pascal Siakam, shut down the goddamn podcast.
Yeah.
Aaron Gordon is 6'8", 238.
Yeah, that's your fuck.
Yeah, 240. Yeah, that feels right. That feels right.
236, excuse me.
Oh, that he's
So Siakam weighs more than Aaron Gordon. Okay. Oh my goodness.
Yo.
Yeah, Basketball Reference has Katie and Giannis 2 pounds apart, and they're the same height.
Yeah.
So
Spills, man.
Do you believe that? I think Katie's like
I think you
220.
want to know what it is. I think they mark it as like a rookie, and then they don't track it again the rest of your career. But then again, Katie as a rookie could not have weighed 240.
No,
maybe he
for
did,
sure
maybe he did.
not.
Yeah,
He
maybe
was
I'm
super
wrong.
skinny.
He was like 180 as a rookie. He might have been, or 200 flat.
Yo.
probably.
That's like
I'm
Alexei
fucking
Pokusevsky.
crying, man.
Yeah.
Katie was
So
phenomenal.
I guess now the next thing we got to do is Game 7 prediction, John. Nuggets, OKC.
Well,
Did you change your mind on your team? Are you riding with them? Aaron Gordon is probably not going to play.
the
That's big
reports
news.
have been the Nuggets are hopeful that he'll play, but seems like he's doubtful for a Game 7, an elimination game. And I think one of the craziest stats that I saw, which really made me confident in my Nuggets, shout out to Kenny, he had this stat that the Nuggets duo of Nikola Jokic and Jamal Murray have played in a combined 12 Game 7s in their careers. The entirety of the Oklahoma City Thunder team have played 3. Lou Dort and Shea in 2020, Isaiah Hartenstein last year, that's it. Jamal Murray and Nikola Jokic, in almost every year of their career they've been in the playoffs, have played in Game 7 moments like this. Let's not forget Game 6 was an elimination game where Jamal Murray comes in feeling terrible, and he plays a great game. Now, coming this series, I had the Thunder winning 6 games. I didn't think he'd get to this point. And at this stage, Nikola Jokic in a Game 7 last year, he blew a 20-point lead. He blew a 20-point lead against a Minnesota team after a generational game before in Game 6.
Cat outplayed him.
And I look at that series, and I look at a player, Nikola Jokic, and I say to myself, I have a hard time seeing him lose another Game 7 the way that he did.
No way he loses another Game 7, right?
No way.
Not another.
There's no way. Forget, he was in the Game 7 the first round, too. He took care of business.
He did.
They swept away that Clipper team.
Swept feels crazy.
Well, in Game 7,
it was a definitive answer.
Definitive game, swept them away. And a lot of people didn't have win that series. Well, swept away.
No, John, you have to explain.
But John, you had them win that series.
The Nuggets.
Hey, you did? We were here. It was lit.
In 7.
In 7.
The thing you can't account for is that you went with OKC in 6, but now that we're in the 7th game, you can't account for that. So we're in the 7th game, and it's Denver now.
You're taking Denver.
I'm taking Denver too.
Yeah, he was animated on the live a couple nights ago.
Me and John have been talking about Jokic all year long. We've been praising him since God knows who went.
Oh, what happened to being an SGA guy? You're done. You're done.
He doesn't have help, man.
Who?
SGA.
Wow.
J-Dub has been terrible.
This is where we're at.
J-Dub has been ass.
This is Joel manifesting.
Chet's been great?
No, he's been bad too.
Okay. All right. He's been consistent.
He's been probably better than J-Dub though.
It's like a shit in a fart.
J-Dub's lows are, oh God.
Went 10 of 43 the last 3 games.
He's due.
I believe that he is going to have a better game.
John's shitting his pants at the idea of J-Dub
going
Game
10
7.
And my worst fear in the entirety of the universe is Joel manifesting a Game 7 where Jalen Williams.
And I promise you, I will be loud.
Let's be real.
I'm rooting for it. I'm not gonna lie.
Let's be real. Let's be real. A J-Dub Game 7 first ever
Say
Game
it out
7
loud.
masterclass.
Say it out loud.
Let's be real. It's not gonna happen. Jokic is gonna have a career-defining win.
Listen, Joel, you said it. These playoffs have been the most random, unpredictable.
Round.
Game 7, J-Dub. It won't be the craziest thing that happened this week.
Second round career-defining win is insane.
It's a career-defining win because Jokic is gonna beat a 68-win team who had the best net rating tied with the Bulls in NBA history.
He has 3 MVPs. He has a
Career
championship.
defining feels crazy.
He's stamped.
Beating this OKC team in the playoffs outside of the NBA Final Series is his best playoff series win of his career.
If he wins a chip this year,
LeBron and AD.
If he wins a chip, that's fine. If they lose in the next round, no one's going to care about this.
It's LeBron and AD.
They were a playing team.
They beat the Warriors.
They were a playing team. The Warriors sucked.
They were dog shit.
They beat the 3-seeded Kings.
The Warriors. Now that in hindsight, those are.
I'm not going to say her name.
I know who I'm talking to, Joel. Yeah. That's why I'm looking at him when I say this.
You don't think that this would be one of the most impressive playoff series wins for Jokic of his career?
100%.
But
he's already career defining. That's where I have problems.
He's stamped, but he's still adding.
He also
Jokic is stamped, but he's still adding to his legacy.
Yes,
this adds to Jokic's career.
Joel, Jokic's legacy is not about second round wins. If he caps this off with a chip, holy shit. Okay, let's talk about it because that's one of the best runs we have ever seen.
Another conference finals appearance is also pretty remarkable.
Yeah, but we're talking about all-time greats. We're really talking about conference
finals. We're top 20 players of all time.
I mean, I know, but especially when you beat a 50-win team and a 68-win team in the second round.
But if they lose to the Wolves in back-to-back years and Jokic doesn't play well in the pivotal elimination game,
that doesn't go in your resume.
Jokic also has the highest PRA in a playoff run in NBA history.
Hold up, Dels. So Tatum beating the Bucks in the second round doesn't matter, his performance in that series?
Well, Tatum's legacy isn't close to what Jokic's is.
I know, but
was that career defining given how that run ended?
It's one of his best moments, but it's not one of his best moments.
Also, when Tatum dropped 51 in a Game 7 against the Sixers, was that career defining?
It was one of his best moments.
You don't always have to win it all to have a career defining moment. Allen Iverson winning one game against the Lakers when they hadn't lost in the top playoff run.
Different though.
This is a 68-win team.
Jokic's legacy
3 MVPs
is like
and a chip already.
Ever.
You're right, Joel.
This would be one of the most impressive playoff series wins in his career.
One of, yes.
I'd argue the only behind the finals.
You have to say
this
that
is the
now.
best series win, but at the end of your career, they don't put on your resume, you made it out the second round of 2025. They put you won a championship in 2025.
Because if he loses to Minnesota in the conference championship, nobody cares.
You can have a career-defining moment, and I think this Game 7,
be a moment.
he's going to be by far the best player on the floor. and he's going to play one of his best games of
By
his
far
career.
the best player in the world.
Yes.
Yo, I'll be honest with
It's
you.
an MVP on the
You
other side.
are done with SGA.
Well, no, because he
You're
thinks,
done.
He thinks
Look at
Brunson's
me.
better.
He
You're
doesn't make
done.
his teammates
You
better
can't
like
come
Jokic
back.
does.
You can't come back onto the SGA train after this.
No,
allowed to.
you
I don't give a
can't.
damn about what train
SGA's
is
not
doing
Jalen
what.
Brunson.
Yo,
That's what he's been telling us the last 4 days. He's not even Jalen Brunson.
I don't
You're
give a damn about
done.
no train.
You're done.
I don't give a damn about no train.
You can't talk to
Who
Riv
is
ever
MVP?
again about SGA. You know that.
Who is your MVP?
You know that.
What he talks about so many teams, I don't know how to keep up. My MVP? I mean, it was Shea.
And you're saying
was the
it's not
best regular season
and
player.
Look, I think Jokic is the better player. I think he was more valuable to his team. That's not why I picked him. I picked Shea to win as well. But to say that he's going to comfortably and clearly be the best player on the floor, I think
You were
that's-
the one
that's
arguing for
very
SGA.
disrespectful.
The plus minus, bro. Don't forget about it.
In the
think
regular
it's
season,
very-
he was better.
I think it's
I
condescending. to say he'll be
it's
way
two
better.
arguments. I never once said Shea was a better player than Jokic. Jokic was always a better player. He was the MVP. Shea was. Shea, in my opinion, was the MVP, and it was clear
Deservedly.
cut to me. And they both had historic seasons, but I thought SGA had a better season. In the playoffs, I think his playmaking once again in back-to-back years has been limited. And you look at the way that J-Dub has struggled, and you look at the way that Jokic has uplifted his supporting cast.
It really is SGA's fault that J-Dub's dog shit.
It's not just his fault, but J-Dub has to self-create everything for himself. Christian Brown can average 16 points for a season off of just being able to cut and hit some layups. And he shot much better from
I was gonna
outside.
say, did
They had
shoot well.
transition demons.
Yeah,
too.
but also J-Dub's game is more than that. Like he's such a
he's
such a
so
good
Exactly.
much
player.
better than him.
Imagine how J-Dub would look like
No,
playing with
absolutely.
Jokic.
But I'm not sitting
That's
there
what I'm
arguing
saying.
that SGA is
But-
better than Jokic.
No.
I have no argument.
Nobody-
that makes me
I
better.
would
What I'm
never
saying,
argue
what I'm
SGA
saying is
better
that
than Jokic.
Shea, he can't make his teammates better to the same degree that Jokic can make his teammates better. That's what I'm arguing.
Absolutely.
I mean,
And
how many players
There's
in
nobody
NBA
in the
history
world that
do?
does it like Jokic.
But
Yeah, facts.
Shea's an MVP player, and I think
He
that
is.
there are other MVP caliber players. Like I think Tatum makes his teammates better than Shea because he's a
but
better
not as good
playmaker.
as Jokic.
I think, of course, but it's still a gap. I think Luka makes his teammates better than Shea.
So let me ask you a question.
I think Giannis makes his teammates better than Shea.
Wow. Okay. The idea strikes.
And I think a big reason why we're seeing these
so wait,
struggles.
is SGA top 4?
Yeah, no, he's the second best player in the world to me.
Okay. He's just not a good playmaker. You're just saying that's one of his flaws. He's not a good playmaker.
It's a limitation. It's a limitation.
So
I mean,
you're
you-
saying that it's a team construction issue.
For OKC right now,
Yeah.
absolutely. They can't. They don't
Wow.
have shooters.
68 wins.
Yeah.
And it's a team construction issue.
I mean,
Well,
they had
it's-
all-time defense, but the
Number
offense
one,
is a little,
that
it
is
get ugly.
interesting.
J-Dub has dropped off in the playoffs in the second round back-to-back years now. But no, OKC's team is built off of defense. And if they don't make the Western Conference, if they make the conference finals, the remaining 4 teams that are left in the playoffs, I don't think would have had a top 10 defense for the entirety of the year in terms of defensive rating. All of them, though, would have had a top 10 offense.
The Wolves.
I don't think, did they finish top 10? They might have finished like 8th.
In defense rating, yeah.
Yeah, they might have finished, I think they might have
Nobody
finished
in the
close
top
to
5
10.
though.
I know what you're
Yes,
saying.
nobody in the top 5. But all of them would have
Which is
finished with
rare.
elite level offenses, which mean, and this is kind of something I've been saying for like a year now.
Wolves, elite level offense.
Oh yeah, they had I think the 4th or 5th best offensive rating when
the
Randall
NBA?
came back. No, when Randall came back.
oh,
When
oh.
Randall came back.
Their offense was top 10. They're one of only a few teams top 10 offensive and defense.
True,
and
true.
top-
You're right,
top
John.
five
You're right,
in
John.
that rating.
And
You're
this
right,
is
John.
something I've been saying
Insane.
for like a year and a half now, that I think that the phrase defense wins championships is a little
Cap?
overblown, because I think that
Nico Harrison ain't on shit, man.
offensive teams, if you are
He's
a
up now.
great or an elite level offensive team that can play defense in stretches, you just have to turn up your game to a different level when it matters. You have a better chance, because OKC is historically one of the best defensive teams that we've ever seen, but their offense has kept Denver in this series. I'd argue that Denver has looked like the better team for the majority of this series. And
No, Denver has moments.
and it's because OKC's offensive lapses are pretty
Denver,
bad.
but Denver has moments where they scored 7 points in the
I
first
was gonna
quarter.
say,
They've had
dude,
fourth quarter
let's
meltdowns.
not do that.
It's been a close series. I don't think either team has been like, oh, the Thunder or the Nuggets have
Like,
looked
Denver has
considerably
looked a little bit better to me.
Game 5, what the hell did the supporting cast of the Nuggets do in the fourth quarter?
Yeah, they were bad.
They actually did nothing.
No, but then game 4, Jokic shot 7 for 22, and it was a close victory by OKC. And in game 5, 1 for 15, everybody outside of Jokic. Lou Dort hits 3 threes that brings OKC's offense to life. And they were like lifeless before that moment. It's right there. I just think Denver has looked more composed on offense throughout the entire
Had an
series.
8-point quarter.
I don't know. They both had clutch games. They both had.
Yeah,
clutch
no,
games.
listen. Denver's defense. I mean, OKC's defense is
Also,
historically
miracle of
great.
God, AG hit that shot.
Yeah, that's a fact.
But right now, we're looking at OKC as a
not
little
saying
bit of
miracle.
an
He was
offensive
decent.
limited team.
Yeah.
What they've been doing is they've been packing the paint on SGA. Shea has kind of had some tunnel vision on these drives, and he's not making the right, correct passes. He's not making any advanced passes, that's for sure. And Denver feels comfortable leaving Dort, leaving Caruso, leaving J-Dub wide open.
Caruso's made him pay, but the rest
Yeah,
of them,
Caruso has, and that's the thing is, you
In
know,
moments, Aaron Wiggins and Keisha Wallace.
and
have
that's
been
what scares me about
consistent.
OKC in Game 7 is I think OKC, they need one of Chet or J-Dub to have an exceptionally great game. Like, play like an all-star. And if that doesn't happen, and if both of them stink, they need at least like 4 of their role players to step up in a major way.
And you and Riv will be loud about J-Dub, and I will be loud about Chet.
And
So it'll be fair.
I think J-Dub's offense, that's who they
we're not
trust
gonna
to
argue.
initiate more of the
Rightfully
offense.
so.
And he just hasn't been good outside of one game in this series. So I think Shea's playmaking limitations have been apparent, but at the same time, he's getting guarded by 4 people, and they're packing the paint on him, and they're letting whoever shoot. So yes, it is a roster thing, and if they had even Cam Johnson out there, it wouldn't be happening.
It would be a lot better. At
Yeah,
least.
it would be a lot better. Isaiah Joe is their best shooter, but they can't play him because
of
of
defense.
defense. But I think that is their most feasible lineup to just adding more spacing around SGA, because I think SGA, for as much shit as I'm giving him as a playmaker, I think that he's figured out how to attack Denver's defense. And that's why he's been elite against Denver. Are there moments where you could be asking for a little bit more? Yes.
Okay.
But I think Shea has been awesome against Denver. You look at his final numbers, I think he's been great. I think there are moments where I do want him to be more composed down the stretch. I look at the Game 4 victory it was, or
4 or
Game
5.
Game 5 victory, where they started the fourth quarter really well, but then the last couple of shots, Shea just settles for
You are talking
threes.
4.
And it's just like, I think Denver more so lets you off the hook than you want it. Like, I think you guys made some boneheaded plays, and Denver just wasn't able to capitalize on
Did
it.
OKC not let... They kind of sold themselves in... Was it Game 1?
They sold themselves in the clutch in 2 games, pretty
Yeah.
much.
That's what I'm saying.
But that OKC's offense, when it looked that way, it has kind of looked that way for the majority of this series, I'll be honest. Especially in the clutch in the fourth quarter.
I don't know. I
mean,
think
they
you're
won 2
selling
games in the
you're
clutch.
selling
Yeah,
Denver a little short.
there have been
bad
moments where
too.
OKC has been
Other way
better in
around.
those
I
moments.
think it's OKC.
I think the
back-to-back
most
games.
the most impressive victory I would say was
Game 2 they smoked
Game
Denver.
5 or 4, when I really thought it was their best win
Oh,
of the
you're saying a
season.
clutch win.
Yeah, I think
2,
it was-
they
Game
I think it was
5.
game-
It was Game 5.
Yeah, you're right. Game 5.
Because they locked up, and they were getting theirs.
Wait,
That's
no,
when-
Game 5 was the Lou
5
Dort game.
Yes.
Wait,
Yeah, no,
threes.
Game 4 I'm talking about.
And then also, you're saying that... I remember your tweets, because I woke up to the next morning to all of this.
What's
You're
their way to
saying
wake up?
I spoke too soon. This was their most impressive win
Yeah.
of
That was
theirs.
the halftime tweet?
Yes, that was the.
No.
They're not ready.
Yeah.
That was that. They're not ready tweet with the quote tweet after. I spoke too soon. This was a very impressive win by them.
Yeah, it might have been one of those games. The Lou Dort game, I kind of felt like Denver kind of let them off the hook a little bit. I think,
But Lou Dort also, if you're gonna hit 3 threes in a quarter, you kind of have to tip your cap because you've been letting
Yeah,
him do
you
that.
let
He's
him-
been-
you left him wide
He had
open
another
and he
game in the
hit that.
first quarter. He started 0 for 5.
See, but at what point is it now multiple games where Denver let them off the hook?
well, it's
And then
both-
game 1
it's
was
both of
a
them.
crazy selling by OKC.
Both of them they've sold in
in
so
clutch
many
time.
games.
In clutch games, Denver's 3-2 in this series. In clutch games,
They're dominating.
Yeah.
I don't know, bro. This
Well,
has been a really
who
even
says they're
series to
dominating?
me.
I don't say they're
Well, you're
dominating.
just saying they've,
I just
like,
think
comfortably
that
better.
no, I do think they've been better. I don't know about comfortably, but I do think they've
Oh,
been
I
better.
thought you did say
I think-
comfortably as
I
well.
think Denver has
Semantics
looked like
appears.
the better team. I think they've been more composed, and I think the process has been sound. OKC has forced the issue a lot in the fourth. I think Denver, Jokic pretty much is creating the shots that are high quality shots that are not going in.
Not surprised.
Like I think Denver's process offensively has been there.
The best shots for the Thunder are SGA, isolation. Can we get a pull-up midi? Can we get you getting downhill? Jokic is getting that too, but they're getting some of the open looks that he's able to generate. Obviously, it's Nikola Jokic.
one of the best playmakers ever.
Yeah, but I don't know. I think both players, because they've both individual superstars have had stinkers. They've had some awesome moments. And now you're looking up at their stat line and they're basically neck and neck. Their efficiency has been similar. I think Jokic has been a little bit better than from three and SGA a little bit better from the field. But there's so much on Shea's plate that, to me, the best shot in the fourth quarter is for him to get buckets. Agreed. But it also makes it a lot easier for Denver to guard him because they don't really have it. Like, Christian Brown is going to be the guy that's going against him, but Christian Brown is not somebody that is obviously no OG Anunoby, Drew Holiday level defender. He's fine, but it makes it a lot easier to defend when SGA, who, like you said, isn't really making those advanced reads, and he just has to go one-on-one. He hits tough minis. That's a lot of his game. But Jokic is able to rely on, Jamal Murray like last game, Aaron Gordon like a couple games prior when he hits that clutch three. Christian Brown in game 6 had himself a great performance. So I think team-wise, I hear what you're saying. I think you've gotten more contributors offensively for Denver, but that doesn't take away from their lapses have been just as bad at OKC at times.
See, I don't know if you could say that without Aaron Gordon, though.
I agree with you.
He is not only irreplaceable, but
don't get me wrong. I'm taking the Thunder in game 7.
I'm taking the Thunder
I got
too.
the Thunder. I'm just saying, like, this has been, both of them have struggled. Both of them have looked good. Like,
yes, agreed. It's
I feel like
fourth quarter offense.
There's no doubt. I mean, this series is going to 7. Both of them have to have their moments to be able to push it here. But I'm saying for the majority of the series, I have thought that Denver has looked like the
What's
better
majority?
team.
Like 55-45?
And also,
64.
Well, yeah, I think they just look better.
Again, game 1, if not for a crazy collapse by OKC, we're not even here.
You could say that about the Boston series.
Oh, you're not even wrong. You could say that about the
Denver
Pacers.
has had collapses too. Jokic shot 7 for 22.
But that's not a lapse. It was a all-time choke by OKC.
In the fourth
all-time,
quarter,
obviously, I'm talking
in the fourth quarter, they shot 1 for 15 in game 5. Everybody
100%.
outside of Jokic.
100%.
So like they've had their moments too. Like they've lapsed.
Agree with you.
So I'm not gonna say like, oh, game 1, if it's not for an all-time choke, then we're not here.
Yeah.
Because no, I think Denver. I think OKC has had moments where they've been let off the hook for their bad play.
I think that's
especially in the fourth.
In one instance, I think for me personally, the SGA, that down the stretch where they really tried to give the game away and Denver just couldn't capitalize the way they did in game 1. That's where I'm at.
Like, how many games this series out of the, I would say 5, because one of them was a blowout. Out of the 5 clutch games that we've seen this series, how many times has OKC's offense has actually looked like a conducive unit? Like, and their process has been sound. And how many of those games?
I would say 2, personally. I would say 2. Game 5. And I would argue game 4 outside of 2 possessions. Outside of 2 possessions, I thought they were excellent.
Yeah, where Shea took
SGA
a bad
just
shot
hit. Yes, that's it.
And then it went off this foot.
100%.
Yeah.
I would say outside of 2 possessions, give me game 4, give me game 5. Because game 1 was a choke. Game 6, obviously, I just think that the Nuggets ran away in the fourth. I would look at 2 games where they clutched, and game 2 was obviously a smoking. That's what I would say. I'm not going to let 2 possessions, me personally, dictate what was an amazing fourth quarter by them.
And I think Denver, for most of the clutch time games in this series, out of the 5, I would argue in almost every single one, outside of maybe 1, they've had a great process. Like, I think the process has been great.
But even still, when I would say all of them were a great process personally.
Yeah, you can argue it for sure.
I would say, they just great process. Maybe not the result you wanted.
And that's what I mean is I just feel like Denver has looked composed. They haven't had the players to execute, and they desperately needed Julian Strawther's skill set last game.
True.
Because he just opened up the floor for them from a spacing perspective. But to the Shea thing, you can be a limited playmaker and still dominate. I mean,
100%.
we saw he's did it in the regular season, but we saw Kawhi Leonard win a chip like that. You just need players around you to step up. But the difference with OKC, and it's going to be the biggest thing that everybody nitpicks until they finally win, is just if J-Dub and Chet are ready for the moment. Maybe their role players are going to be able to will them past that.
Yeah.
But it's J-Dub and Chet, it's if they're ready for the moment. And right now in round 2, it just doesn't really feel that way. Like I just don't feel confident. Even with Caruso, who has been a magician, the way that he can just navigate screens and stay on Jamal Murray has been like, I mean, he is one of the best defenders that I've ever seen in my life.
100%.
But he is that good. But I trust Jokic and Murray to just have a better game from the both of them than like any of the 2 for
Aaron
OKC.
Gordon being out is a big factor because with him playing, I definitely felt a little bit nervous. But, I mean, there's been games in these playoffs. Aaron Gordon's been their second best player.
Yes.
100. He's been their second best player this postseason without a doubt.
Yeah. So, I mean, Jamal Murray obviously has some scoring outbursts here and there. But even in the last game in Game 6, like Aaron Gordon's stat line wasn't anything to write home about, but he's one of those players that what he's giving you defensively, the energy, the rebounding, the second chance. He's been a great 3-point shooter throughout this season.
Nuts.
That's gonna be a big factor because either he's gonna miss, right, which I feel like is more likely, but if he does play, this feels like someone who is coming back and like remember OG Anunoby last season against the Pacers where it's like he's playing, but you saw quickly that he's not ready.
Yeah.
I feel like that's kind of the performance we'll get from Aaron Gordon, unfortunately.
No, I agree with you guys. Now, I have Denver in 7. You guys have
OKC.
OKC in 7.
Johnny.
John, where are you leaning towards?
I'm leaning towards the Nuggets because they got the third best player in this game. I'm leaning toward the Nuggets.
Okay.
I really have confidence that Jamal Murray will continue to play well. It's just a matter of skepticism because I feel like they need a good game from both Peyton Watson and Russell Westbrook without Aaron Gordon.
What about Strother? I feel like he's earned
Strother-
some more minutes.
He definitely has earned more minutes.
It's just, are you
That's
getting that
risky.
back-to-back games?
It's
I don't
back-to-back
know.
It just feels like it could be the Luke Cornett game. Game 6 at home, you hit your shots, and then game 7, you're a little overwhelmed on the road.
It's tough without Michael Porter Jr. having a functional left shoulder as well. It kind of throws a wrench into this where they don't have enough shooting around those two. So
At least he made
it's
shots
gonna
last
be
game.
yeah, but every other game is gonna go 1
Yeah,
of 7
for sure.
So it's gonna be a possession by possession basis with this Nugget team.
I love that
They
they're willing to
gotta-
die on that MPJ Hill. They're like, you're on that court,
kinda
man.
They're
So,
paying
yeah.
him $36 million. They're not
Who-
gonna know
I
what
get
to replace
it.
him with.
Yeah.
I get
out
it,
there.
Who are they gonna put
but
out there?
he's
Flacco,
out there.
Who are you
I
giving
give
his
him a lot of
minutes to,
respect.
No.
So-
Payne Watson? Like, is that a bad idea? I know his offense isn't negative, but if MPJ is literally just a person out there, he's just a body. Granted, he has a big body.
You just can't leave him open. That's the thing.
You can't.
He's gonna get
You
respect.
can't.
Yeah.
You can't.
Peyton
But
Watson's
the defense
gonna get
that you
left
know
open.
Peyton Watson's going to bring you, especially down the stretch of the game, something to consider at least, considering how hurt MPJ is.
We'll see Aaron Gordon if he plays or not. He has the full day to recover. He's probably icing as we're speaking right now. He's probably doing the most he can.
Absolutely.
To try to play. So we'll see because that would be a big blow to them. But I still
No
got
game
Denver.
tonight is wicked.
Yeah. Well, all the other series ended in 5.
Big time game, so they probably wanted to single them out.
I respect that.
Yeah.
W by the
Yeah, they got to
NBA.
start. They're doing better with the marketing, but
like that.
Yeah. I just thought because all the other series ended in 5.
Nah,
This would have been a game 6.
You're right.
Or game 7.
no. But it's gonna be a good series now, Dallas. Real quickly, what do the Celtics do? Because I was looking
here we
at the numbers and the salary caps and stuff like that. They're over the second apron by like 17 or 18 million, which means that they need to shed the salary of one of Holiday or Porzingis. If we're really going big game hunting, then Jaylen Brown, but I don't think they're going to do that, and it wouldn't make sense to do that. They either have to shed salary from Drew or Porzingis to get under the second apron, and they have been a team over the luxury tax for 3 out of 4 years, which means that they're going to get hit with a repeater tax. We're looking at a team that this upcoming season, it might get hit with a $500 million bill total. It's the most in NBA history. It's an expensive team that they can't keep together, but I struggle with how they're going to move off from Drew Holiday, given his age and contract and regression. Because if you're a dumb team that hasn't been watching all year and you just like the thought of Drew Holiday, maybe you make the trade. But based on how he's been playing,
I don't think he's fallen off.
I think that it's enough to where he's good if he's like the 5th best player on your team. But like if he's the 3rd, which is getting paid to be like the 3rd.
That's fair. Yeah.
You don't really want that contract for multiple years. And then Porzingis, who's on an expiring, I think that might be the easiest one to move. But because of the virus he has and because of the expiring contract he has, you might have to attach like a pick to that. Like I wouldn't be surprised. Like there's only 5 teams that have more than 10 million in cap space this offseason. It's the Nets, it's the Pistons, it's the Bulls, and it's the Grizzlies. I wouldn't, if I'm Boston, I'm just saying, yo, Nets, I'll give you Porzingis in a 2028 lottery protected first, and just give me like a rookie or something.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like both of their values aren't that low. I don't know if you have to attach a pick to Porzingis unless this illness like lingers into the regular season, like next season. He just had 2 back-to-back years of like last year it was the weird foot injury that like 1 in a million athletes get. And this year it's just some illness that they can't figure out. So it's been obviously unlucky, but it's kind of unfortunate the story of his career. I still think Drew Holiday holds a lot of value to a contender.
I agree.
Because I think what he showed so far in these playoffs is I thought he gave Brunson some of the, his biggest troubles so far. So he still showed that he could play at a high level defensively. The 3-point shooting in the regular season definitely came down. But he was overall, I didn't think Drew Holiday was one of our biggest problems, right? When we were actually shooting really poorly those first 2 games, he was the only one that was somewhat efficient. So I still think he has some value, even though the contract isn't great, right? You're getting paid $35 million for the next 3 years. He's already 35 years old, I believe, turns 36 this summer. So, of course, it's not the best contract in the world, but I just look at some teams that, like the Mavericks, for example, who said that they want to get a veteran point guard. They're able to make that work with a Daniel Gafford and either like a Najee Marshall or a PJ Washington. You have to send a pick there, a third team, but is that something they'd be willing to do? And all of a sudden, you could go into next season with a defensive line that includes Drew Holiday, Cooper Flagg, Derek Lively, and Anthony Davis. And that, I feel like, really ups your game. I think the Houston Rockets, a team that has cap space, that has some draft picks, if the Celtics really want to go young, right? They have that 10th overall pick. Is that too rich for Drew Holiday? But they have such a young team that's do you want to add another rookie to this lineup, or can you get someone who's maybe a bit more proven? But it's going to be a tough decision either way, because even when I was going through the trade machine like Fanspo, whatever the Celtics do, they're going to have a worse team. There's no world where they're going into next season, Tatum aside, who obviously takes down your ceiling and your floor, but Tatum aside, the roster is going to be worse altogether. So I think there's a decent chance Porzingis and Drew Holiday both end up leaving. This bill that is due, like you mentioned, $500 million. If the Celtics would have repeated, I think there's a chance they go into next season and be like, screw it. We got to keep it together at least one more year. But the fact that it ended in this fashion, but then also Tatum's probably going to be out all of next season, I think it makes it a bit easier. Actually, a lot easier of a decision.
So easy.
Because, if you would have, lost a hard-fought series in the finals in 6 or 7 games against the Thunder, or, of course, repeated, that's hard to sell to your fan base. But it's a lot easier for Brad Stevens and even the new ownership that people had a lot of questions about funding and how much money do they have. It's a lot easier to sell it going forward because you lost in the second round and your best player is going to be out all of next year. So those 2 players, I think Sam Hauser's another one. He's the guy that has a $10 million salary, but his real hit because of the taxes, $80 million. He could be someone that gets just thrown off just for some draft picks. I think someone who's a 40% 3-point shooter that really any team with cap space would love to have. Maybe get a couple seconds for him or something. But the big ones are Drew and KP. The only way JB becomes available, I think, is if you really have a shot like a Giannis, which it seems really
Would you trade
unlikely.
JB for number 1 overall?
Yeah.
I
just don't think Dallas
The financial, it
That's
opens up
tough.
so much
Now,
financial.
can I ask you, because next season, there are the 2 that could combine for the 17 that would get you just under. Payton Pritchard, Sam Hauser.
It would be hard to move up Pritchard for me, man.
They're just so good values.
Yeah, he makes $9 million
But you
a year.
you would get a decent return, I would think.
But the thing about that,
got
you have to be
contract
careful
coming up.
because I was even going to talk. I was
Oh,
going
wait,
to
no.
No, he does not.
KGM.
Yes, he's on the books for a good amount of time. That's why I said
I forgot.
Peyton.
Yeah, he got 3 years left.
Yes.
Yeah, he has $8 million
But he's
per
making
year.
nothing.
Yeah, that's such an insane value. I wouldn't
That's
move
one
off
of the best
that.
deals in the NBA.
But Dels, I was going to piggyback off your point of number 1. Quick correction: Drew is about to turn 35, so not as old. 36 versus 35 at this point is a big gap.
It does matter.
Yeah, because it's the difference between being 37 versus 38 at the end of your contract. But the Dallas trade, they are also a team that doesn't have cap space. So if you trade Drew there, you're not shedding salary. You're just taking back salary in different forms.
Yeah. Well, yeah, you could bring the contracts aren't as long when you do
Yeah.
a Gafford, a PJ Washington. I think there's
So you
one
can
other
shed
player.
it in a year. Yeah, you're
Yeah,
right.
yeah.
So that's the only thing. But I'm just thinking of how can, if the Celtics they want to just not pay this bill, how can they just get under? And
It's trying for draft picks.
yeah, I think a KP trade makes sense, and we'll see where his value is at exactly. I had this crazy idea that just came to my head. It was a blip. It was just the Nets they want to get extremely aggressive for Giannis. What if they just trade for Drew and KP? They don't really have to give up much. They have the cap space to
That's
pretty
a
much.
team that can eat the salary.
They can eat
and
up
get
both of their
assets.
salaries, and then they can trade Claxton, sign and trade Cam Thomas with 6-7 draft picks. Go get Giannis, and they have Giannis, Cam Johnson, Drew, and Porzingis.
What are we getting for Drew and KP?
At this point, I mean, they're doing you a favor.
To be honest with you guys,
I don't think their value is just
It's not that low. It's not
non-existent.
that low. It's
I
not
think
that
you
low.
get something for them.
Yeah, it's not that low.
Drew Holiday has 3 years left in this contract. He is turning 35 years old. I feel like if the Celtics were to trade him, he would consider retirement. Now he's leaving a lot of money on the table if he does. And I think the footprint of this Celtic team is going to look way different next year. Obviously, Jason Tatum's going to be out this season, which is a horrible blow. I think it opens a pathway for you guys to, and what could be a great draft class, take a step back, get yourself a top 10 pick, similar to what the Mavericks did a couple of years ago, became Derek Lively, and then a year later when that star was healthy, they're on the fast track to the finals. I think maybe the most overlooked part is Al Horford's likely retiring because his contract expires. He's made over $280 million in the NBA, 17 years,
Luke Cornett,
arguably a Hall of Fame career. I think Al Horford's retiring, and then go along with that, Kristaps Porzingis turns 30 years old, and that is the most likely cap casualty to me. I don't think you guys get much back in return. I think it's more a matter of getting underneath the apron. And next year, I think it's really all about giving Payton Pritchard more opportunity to grow into what he possibly can be. Baylor Shireman and Jordan Walsh will be rotation players most likely, and
Hey, you need a center desperately.
It's Kata time.
I'll trade you Porzingis. Give me back Day'Ron Sharp. We'll do it.
Cornette. We have bird rights on Cornette.
Day'Ron Sharp is good, by the way.
He's solid.
He's
Yeah,
really
back
good.
up.
for sure.
If I'll trade Porzingis, give me Day'Ron Sharp in the pick. I'll do it right now. I wouldn't think twice.
And I feel like what it really will highlight is kind of Jaylen Brown getting more opportunity, how much he can grow on the ball, whether or not that's for the better or for the worse. Because next year it's kind of just going to be a solid playoff team without the expectations of being a contender. So I think it's going to be the Jaylen Brown show. But there's definitely a world where if 1 or 2 injuries happens to the Celtic team, I think it would make sense logically for them to look at it as a reset year. Like the Grizzlies, like the Mavericks.
Yep.
The only
Because
issue is they're just not going to be bad enough next year.
What
I
if
think-
Jaylen Brown misses 40 games?
Sure, absolutely. Then,
Like in 2021,
but
when
What
he
if he
missed the second
misses
half
40
of the
games?
season.
I mean, yeah. If
I
this,
would
like,
shut him down
if
after
this
the
partially torn
All-Star
meniscus.
break.
Because like in 2021, he had the season-ending injury, and then it was like just Tatum and no one else.
But that's a good point, dude. Partially torn meniscus. He's gonna have surgery.
Yeah, they said they're like deciding on it, which I don't know. I mean, so.
They might do like
Meniscus
the
is a
whole.
tricky
I'm gonna
procedure.
enjoy my summer.
Then do it in
September.
September.
I'm gonna have surgery. That would not be the dumbest
But listen,
thing.
next year's a gap year for the Celtics. Like I think that all this talk about we got to see with Jaylen Brown like looks like the guy and stuff like no.
I want that for me.
It's a gap year, and I think the organization probably understands that it is a year to see who can contribute when Tatum comes back and our roster and our core pieces are back with each
I
other.
feel bad for Derek White, man. He's gonna have to go out there next season and backpack.
He's gonna hoop.
He's gonna be an all-star.
Like he could average
And then we're
22.
gonna open up the Garland talks again.
Yeah, it's gonna be a lost year next year.
There's 2 different types of procedures, and I'm not a doctor, so forgive me if I miss a
Thought you
detail
were.
in here. I know, I thought I was too for a second. As I was reading this off, there's 2 different types of procedures that you can get for a torn meniscus. The first one's a partial trim where a player will come back sooner, but oftentimes that's led to guys having like extreme issues of cartilage later on in their careers. The second's where you do a full repair, and the recovery is 3 to 6 months. So I think it'd be logical to kind of be as smart as you possibly can about the procedure and not rushing back. And if it's a 3 to 6 month long recovery, he would miss the start of the season next year.
Yeah, the good thing is the Celtics have their pick next season, which is obviously huge. Yeah, I mean, if Jaylen Brown misses 40 plus games, we could talk about them actually like bottoming out and having a top 10 pick. But until that happens, I still think if it's Jaylen Brown, Derek White, Pritchard, I think I've seen some reporters say they'd be surprised if Horford retired. So I'm leaning right now that he comes back, but it's kind of 50-50.
That's the thing. What are you playing for next year? He'll be 40 when Tatum's back healthy.
No, absolutely.
He might retire when he actually comes back. I mean, I would just tank. I mean, this draft next year is loaded, especially at the top. Debnesta from BYU is insane.
It's just
But-
you need to win like 30 games. That's the
But
tough.
I mean, dude, the top 3 in next year's draft is AJ Debnasta. I'm probably not pronouncing his name right, but whatever.
He's from
I'm pretty sure.
Massachusetts, isn't he?
Debnasta.
Or somewhere in
He
the
went to
Northeast?
Utah Prep, now he's going to BYU. And the Jazz's front office and owner of private investors in BYU. And that's the school he went to. So there's a clear connection to
Darren
Danny Ainge
Peterson. He might be the best prospect in the draft. Darren Peterson is a 2-guard. He can do everything.
That's how I know anything about these guys.
I need the
That's
NBA
really
to rig it
impressive.
for
But
us.
I think
Yeah,
for
Bruiser.
like the Celtics' sake and fit-wise, Cameron Boozer. Is he next year?
Yes.
He's next year too, right?
Cooper Flag would have been his class, by the way.
Cameron Boozer, he is
Kind of
Carlos
off.
Boozer's son, obviously.
yeah.
He plays the 4. He's 6'10". I think, if you guys can get lucky enough to draft him,
How much do you weigh?
230. 230.
But we're just talking about Boston, like top 5 pick feels.
Top
it's
5
hard.
pick feels
Well, the
very
Dallas
unlikely,
Mavericks just got the first
but-
overall pick.
No, for
But-
sure, absolutely.
You guys might get blessed too.
It's just like the Dallas to get the number 1 overall pick needed so many devastating things to happen to them, and like
about-
maybe that's what. Yes, one devastating
Luka
thing
trade,
already happened.
New
Kyrie
ownership for the
Irving.
Mavs. First round pick.
New
First
ownership for
overall
Boston.
pick, excuse me. New ownership for Boston. Who knows?
Yeah, if you guys get Cameron Boozer, man, that would be insane, dude. Cameron Boozer is like a do-it-all guy.
I don't know anything
Yeah,
about him.
he's fucking good. He's fucking good. I rebuild with him all the time on 2K. I always get that first overall pick and I draft him.
How do you finesse that?
I just tank blatantly.
Oh, okay. I respect
I'm just
that.
trying to be bad. Or sometimes I just like trade all my future picks. and
I was
then
gonna say the lottery blessing you.
Yeah, I trade all my future picks and I trade like a star on my team. I got Cameron Boozer on the Kings because the Kings were garbage and I like made so many. Like I traded Sabonis to the Magic and I got back like Anthony Black and stuff, and I just had a whole rebuild year. And then I signed Cameron Boozer. Drafted Cameron Boozer, and that's it. I just do that. But I do so many rebuilds, bro. Like I have to delete files to like create new ones.
Oh, really?
The ones I get bored with and I'm like, yeah, I don't want to play this no more. I delete it and I create a new one, and then I just rebuild with a new team.
Sounds lit.
If any trade comes to my mind, I don't execute all of them, but like the one I just mentioned you with like the Nets and getting Porzingis and Drew and then Giannis, sometimes when those ideas come to my mind, I just go play 2K and I do that real quick. And
See if it works out or
yeah,
not.
I spend like maybe a day on it, and then if
Get
you
bored.
know I play like a game and then I'm done with the franchise. I don't really like stick to it all that much.
It's like Madden.
Yeah.
Do a whole draft just to play
2 games.
literally.
What sucks about Madden, bro, is like to sim a week takes
It
mad
takes
long.
so long.
Yeah, like
I haven't-
NBA is like you couldn't fucking sim a season or two and like mad quickly. With Madden, it's just they be giving you like the scheduling practices every week, the fucking activities where like you talk to a player and they have goals and stuff. Which if you're taking your time on it, it makes sense. But somebody that wants to like fastly sim through things, it's just I don't like it. And also, the draft classes for Madden it's only a year ahead. So the Cam Ward draft and stuff like that, what we just saw, it'll be in Madden. But like draft class that go into after that initial year, it's all over the place.
How does 2K have that?
It's user created.
It's user created, and bro, they go deep into like 2029, dude.
That's nuts.
Yeah, like a high school McDonald's All-American follows us on TikTok. His name is, I don't want to botch his name, so I'm not gonna say his name. No, it's Mikael Brown Jr. He's gonna go to Louisville. He, I think, is in like, he's a junior in high school or a senior, one of those. Probably a junior in high school. He's in the 2027 draft class or
In
2028.
2K.
And in 2K, yeah, I drafted
And they
him
have
in
him?
like a lottery pick. He was like one of my franchise players.
That's funny.
That's crazy.
So like they go that deep. Like bro, they go that deep with 2K
That's
where you
pretty
could
tough.
do that. That's why it makes sense to rebuild like a couple years because they actually have like real relevant players. Where Madden, it's like a complete crapshoot, And nobody knew Cam Ward was gonna be the first overall pick here, but in basketball, I guess they're just much better at projecting like who's gonna be the top guys in each class.
So like Mikey Williams a few 2Ks back was going number 1 overall in like every single.
yes,
That was like Patrick Baldwin when I played 2K. I stopped after 29.
Who was KD? He went to Cleveland.
Imani Bates.
Imani Bates.
Yeah, definitely.
KD?
I had franchises where I built around Imani Bates.
I bet.
I mean, if you would have done it like 4 years ago, Imani Bates is probably like the number 1 player in the damn class.
Like,
Yeah, he
I
was.
tanked to go get Imani Bates.
I bet,
100%.
bro. Imani Bates had Twitter in a chokehold.
Yeah.
You want to hear a 6-team trade that completely shakes up the NBA?
Yo,
Yes.
thank you for sharing this.
Shout out to Paul who sent me this. We've been talking about a bunch of Celtics trades, and the Celtics were involved, but six teams are involved. Okay, where should we start? Let's start with the
Start
biggest
from the
one.
top. Facts.
Giannis goes to the Rockets. So Giannis goes to the Rockets. The Rockets also acquire Kristaps Porzingis. Okay, we're gonna get there. There's a lot to go on. The Bucks in return. This isn't involving picks. I'm sure there's gonna be picks involved.
Ton.
The Bucks get Şengün, CJ McCollum, and Jabari Smith. Let's just say they also get 3, 4, 5. I don't know how many first
7?
round picks
I think you get 5.
from multiple teams, not just the Rockets,
Some good
but there's
ones,
some other
some good
guys. The Celtics are getting back. Actually, let me do a different team first. The Nets are involved in this deal. The Nets are getting Jalen Green and Jock Landale. They'll probably also have to get a couple of first because the Nets are sending Cam Johnson to the Celtics along with Kelly Olynyk and Jose Alvarado. How are those guys involved, may you ask? The Pelicans are getting Drew Holiday, Kyle Kuzma from the Bucks, and Cam Whitmore from the Rockets. What are your thoughts?
First off, wow. Secondly, I wouldn't mind seeing Jalen Green next to Cam Thomas.
Like, it kind of makes sense for the Nets. Like, Jalen Green has some more upside.
No, they
makes
just
zero
be getting a
sense.
repeat. Yeah, they're getting a repeat player.
It's just Cam Thomas.
I like Cam Thomas to the Celtics. I think
Johnson.
thank you. I like Cam Johnson to the Celtics. I think the Rockets getting KP and Giannis would be pretty lit for only giving. Well, Sengun would be going to the Bucks.
And Jabari and Whitmore.
They probably in this scenario would also
And
be
Jalen
getting
Green.
like the Bucks.
No. I'm saying that's what the Rockets
The
are
Rockets
getting
are
up.
giving away, yeah. Which makes sense. They have to give up all
Yeah.
that. They're giving up Cam. They're basically giving up all their young players to get Giannis.
And KP,
I
yep.
mean, they're keeping Amen, Reed Shepard, and
Okay, Reed-
Reed's a second overall pick. And
Third, and be honest, he did nothing last year.
Because they were one of the deepest teams in the NBA.
They were.
He was
They
my
were.
second favorite prospect.
They were.
Imagine straight happens. No, I won't.
I know.
cool.
I'm with you.
Listen,
Joel, I'm with you.
The fact
What
that
are
he
you
put a
with me on?
16
You're talking
trade
about how
together,
Reed Shepard was disappointing this year.
No, I actually like Reed a lot.
Interesting.
He's a really good prospect and didn't have a chance.
I'm just saying he did nothing last year.
He in the 5 games he
his
had,
opportunity.
You're
He
right.
played
He
two, well in
cooked.
2 of the 5 games.
Hey, you're not wrong. You're not
So-
wrong. I just can't rely. I'm not going to next season like
He was my
young
second
core baby.
He was my second favorite prospect in the class too. So
You
I
love
think he's been really good.
You love them, man. Cooper Flag #1 this year. Reed Shepard #2 last year.
He's been saying some nasty things. Not nasty, but some hot takes on Cooper Flag.
Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I've been away from the game. Yeah, I've also heard you talk crazy. I heard the clip actually.
What?
Who wins the championship first? The Dallas Mavericks or the Los Angeles Lakers? Let's not forget what Luka Doncic did to the Dallas Mavericks organization. Let's just say that. Dallas isn't where they're at.
For player, it's just
Dallas
the
isn't
team.
where they're at if not for Luka. They're not as aggressive if not for Luka. Secondly, it's LA. It's LA. We win championships in every decade.
You do.
Yeah.
We're
You
gonna
already won-
figure it the
you
hell
won
out.
your championship this decade.
But now a new decade starts when you get Luka Doncic.
Okay.
And you said
He
an
transcends
you said
years.
an aging team. LeBron's 40. Like we're not pretending like this team moving forward isn't built around Luka.
Right
You
now,
guys,
the
you guys
Mavericks
won
are
one
the
more
Bears.
playoff game in this year.
with Cooper Flag existing.
For a player I haven't seen play in the NBA.
Well, he's one of the best prospects like the last 25 years.
Oh, one of like
one of
Wemby
the
didn't
5
just come out of the draft 2 years
You think
ago.
Cooper Flag's a better prospect than Zion?
I think he's around the level. I think he's on the same level. Yeah.
I think that's fair.
Yeah.
Same tier.
Cooper's good.
Like,
He's really good.
I think the only prospects like since LeBron I'd say are better definitively. it's
Anthony Davis,
gonna be-
please.
Yeah,
Okay.
well, I'm getting there. It's gonna
Apologize.
be Wemby. It's gonna be AD. And if I forget someone, let me know.
Okay.
I think Zion.
You
and
said
Cooper
since
Flag.
LeBron?
Yeah, post
Okay.
LeBron.
Kevin Durant.
Okay, so yeah, I'm missing. He was a second overall pick. and he'd
Greg
still
Oden
be-
or Cooper Flag. I'm being genuinely serious.
I think that's the same tier as Zion. So they'd be in the same tier. Yeah.
Okay. Continue.
KD is a prospect. I think same tier. as
Derrick
Flag.
Rose or Cooper Flag?
Cooper Flag.
Okay.
So I
Interesting.
think the
Kyrie
top
or
5,
Cooper Flag?
Cooper Flag.
Kyrie played what? 5 games?
On the counter. here.
12, I think.
Okay, and was #1 stamped.
Yeah, you're right. I think he came
Cooper
back.
Flag
at
would
the
have been
end.
one if he played no games.
Get it out.
Is it not?
But you're
is
only
it- am I
talking
wrong?
about.
You know.
You're only talking
No.
about 3 to 4 prospects that definitively take. And
No, no
also,
doubt.
Dwight Howard's 2004.
Blake?
Blake or Cooper Flag? I might take Cooper Flag. Yeah.
Wow.
He said he's gonna be a better pass from LeBron.
No. I
What
didn't say-
the
I didn't say that.
fuck?
He lied. He lied. He lied.
Oh my God.
I
You
said-
could literally say anything. I have not watched the show
Nah.
except the TikTok
He
clips.
didn't say anything against it.
I think his
He's projecting
feel
it,
for the
maybe.
game was like LeBron's.
Cooper a better
His
prospect
passing.
than Luka? I'm dead serious.
I think
No.
Luka was probably a better prospect. He went with the 3rd overall pick. That's another guy too, like KD, that because it wasn't the 1st overall pick, I forget him.
Uh-huh.
But he was probably a better prospect.
Luka, I don't know
Really
what
good
happened
team.
that come draft day, people were just like, yeah, he's not #1 anymore.
DeAndre Ayton, man.
A European guy hasn't translated at the guard position and been a superstar. I think that's
Since
the whole
Tony?
deal. He was a superstar.
But he approached that.
I don't think so.
He was
I think he was a
finals
very
MVP,
good player.
But
I mean, he's a Hall of Famer.
Yeah, no,
I
know,
definitely
but-
forgot
yeah,
a few
but-
prospects in there.
Yeah, he said as a
Canadian
prospect,
Luka.
he's as good as a passer as LeBron. That's
What
he
school
was saying.
did Steve Nash go to?
St. Clair, same as Jalen Williams.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, wow. More you know.
Yep.
I didn't know that, genuinely.
Yep. 15th overall pick, Jalen Williams like the 13th
That's pretty lit. Okay.
or 12th.
But John loves him some Cooper Flag. That's what we
I
got
do.
at.
I said that his best attribute was to me on the offensive end is passing. I feel like his feel for the game was like a lot like LeBron coming out of high school.
I also feel like we're missing prospects.
I think for that 16 trade you did, just the Jalen Green thing
That is what sticks out.
and the Kuzma thing. I don't know if anybody wants Kuzma.
Probably not.
You're a Kuzma
who
guy,
are they giving
too.
to The Pelicans,
Not
right?
no more.
Damn, I don't blame you.
He's
Yeah, the
trash.
Pelicans. The Pelicans are giving up C.J. McCollum, Olenek,
And
Alvarado.
Alvarado.
They're getting Drew Holiday, Kuzma, and Cam Whitmore. I think you kind of, you may have to give up a pick because you're not really giving up shit in this. Like
Jalen
C.J.
Green
McCollum.
needs to go to a different team.
They could reroute him.
Like he should be going to the Pels.
They could reroute him.
Oh wow,
That would
That's-
move me.
That's terrible.
Why?
Sheesh.
Why is that terrible?
Trey Murphy's so much better than him.
Okay. So, what's wrong with having another player that can
And
score?
you have Herb Jones too.
Okay.
And
Don't
I'd
play the same position.
I'd start both of them.
Say again.
No,
I'd start Herb and Trey.
Oh yeah, why not?
because one of them as 6 men would be electric.
But they're
You mean
two of your
Jalen
best
Green?
players.
That could be the case too.
I would rather
put it
have
like
Jalen
that.
Green.
Yo,
6 man.
imagine Jalen Green against twos. Whoo!
If you're taking the same shots, it might not matter.
Pick a side.
His
did.
side is picked.
No, it's not.
Now I
it's
think
not.
it is.
No, because he waits for the final verdict of the season to be like, yeah, he stinks.
No, to be fair though, even after his 30-point game, he was like, he's not on shit. He was. For better or worse, he was.
We just that game 2 performance
It was one of the best games of the playoffs.
by
From an
any
individual
player.
player.
Yeah,
It was one of the best.
Short-lived, but
Very
yes.
short-lived.
I was so
because he had
high,
some of
man.
the worst games.
Every
too.
game you're waiting for that same game. Please, Jalen.
That's
please,
a high
this is
that
the
drugs
one.
can't get you to, bro. I was on cloud 9.
I couldn't stop laughing at that tweet.
You like that one?
I thought it was funny.
I forget what it was in reference to. What was it that I said that drugs can't get you this high? Ah, damn
Jalen
it.
Green having a good game.
Nah, I don't think that's what it was. I'm about to look.
Was it the
Luka?
Brunson 3 against the Pistons?
It's definitely like Luka LeBron, right? Or
No.
Luka Laker related.
I don't know. I haven't been tweeting much recently, so I'm gonna look it up while we talk.
All right, well, maybe you can have it by the end of the outro.
Oh, we're ending the episode right now.
Yeah, I think
Oh,
so. You
wow.
know, we'll save the NFL stuff for next time for Monday.
Want to talk about Brock?
We're gonna be here Monday. Well, Brock Purdy, we could talk about that with the other football stuff, with the Caleb stuff too. I think so. Maybe some more NFL news comes out.
Oh, that the Rizzler followed Pick a Side on TikTok.
Oh yeah.
All right, couple things I want to say. First off, shout out to my guy Justin Alba. He was a guy that we talked about a couple of years back.
Yep.
Unfortunately, was fighting cancer. Unfortunately, we found out recently that it did come back. Had to have surgery. He woke up to the Knicks coming back from 20 down. It was amazing.
That's awesome.
He reached out to me. About the surgeon who did the surgery. So I wanted to show him some love. He's
Shout out to you,
doing better, thank God. So that's really great. But I know that I've been gone from the show and it sucks. Inevitably, that'll get fixed once my schedule cleans up. But I do appreciate you guys holding it down every single night. Every single night, you guys put in an insane amount of work. You guys are locked in watching these games. And you guys know, obviously, I still watch the highlights after, but I haven't been as locked in. That will change. But credit to you guys. You guys have just been incredible this NBA playoffs.
Yes, sir. But I think big shout out to John, who's been here,
That's
every
a
step
fact.
of the way.
That's a fact, Johnny.
He's a guy, he's a team player. You know what I mean? No matter what we need from John, John's going to be there for
gonna
us.
play the right
he
way.
needs to come in the studio. He needs to
Glue
be
guy.
he needs to be on live. He doesn't matter. John is going to show up every
The
single time.
locker room presence.
Because, obviously, it's not, I know people joke around in the comments, but, Drew and Riv have jobs that they got to wake up early in the morning for a drive. I have a job, I work from home. You know what I mean? So, I get to wake up at 9 o'clock if I want to, so I could stay up till 2. That's not a big deal. So, of course, we're holding it down. John's holding it down for us.
For real.
Joel's here every episode, so, team effort.
Yeah, nice. That was a great note to end off on. We'll be back in the studio Monday. Now that the NBA playoffs are going to have gap days where there's no games in between, the NBA season's ending. So we'll be in the studio much more than that because we don't have to react to all the games that are happening live and do the late night episodes. So we'll be back in the studio. But thank you guys for this. This has been an amazing playoffs. It's not over just yet, but another episode in studio on Monday.
Yes, sir.
You can follow us on Twitter at Pick a Side Pod, on Instagram and TikTok at Pick a Side Podcast. Thank you guys for watching, and we'll see you guys next time.